This meeting of the Las Cruces Public Schools School Board is now called to order. And we will begin with a roll call. Mr. Castro, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Frank?
Here.
Ms. Dillon?
Here.
Ms. Flores?
Here.
Mr. Jaramillo?
Present.
And I'm present, Mike Castro.
Okay. And before we get started, I want to welcome our student advisor, Dominic from Arrowhead. Welcome to the dais.
Thank you.
And at this point, we're going to all stand and pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Juro lealtad a la bandera de los Estados Unidos de América y de la República que representa una nación bajo de Dios, indivisible, con libertad y justicia para todos.
Thank you.
Each time.
So our next thing is East Bacacho fifth grade ballet. What's that?
Ballet folclórico.
Yes, thank you. Okay, so we're going to have a presentation. If that's what it says on my intro. Are you ready?
Where are our dancers?
Okay. Maybe.
Okay.
Okay. I am looking forward to that.
And the student advisor. Welcome the student advisor.
Yes.
We did. Oh, he did. He did.
Okay. How did I miss that?
Okay, here they come. Welcome.
Trash can.
Very much. That was just really special.
There's more.
There is more.
One more.
Okay, thank you.
Look how pretty.
I got those in
How do you know this stuff?
Look at those.
Pretty.
Look at their hair. Everything is Mexico.
The highlight of the meeting is always the students performing, and so thank you very much for that. And any other board members want to comment on the performances, or?
Thank you. Thank you for bringing them one more time. They were here for Cinco de Mayo, so it was delightful then, and it's delightful today. And these are fifth graders, so we wanted them to have the chance to be here. So
Yes.
thank you for bringing them.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So we have a little problem with our minutes. We have to amend the minutes, so I'm going to turn that over to Dr. Ewing, and he's going to talk about the amendments that we're going to make to the minutes that have been posted.
Yes, sir. So I believe the minutes are okay to approve. It's tonight's agenda that we want to ask if the
Oh,
board would be
of
so
course.
kind. So I think we're fine to proceed with approval of the minutes, but when we get to the agenda, I will ask the board for
Oh,
a special approval.
I'm totally mixed up. So I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes for April 3rd, 2018, closed executive session, April 17th, 2018, closed executive session, May 1st, 2018, closed executive session, and May 1st, 2018, special meeting work session.
So, I'll second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, this motion carries. And now we can move to the agenda. And Dr. Ewing,
Yes, sir. So,
speak to that.
Mr. President, Madam Vice President, members of the board, and to the members of our audience, I'm going to request that item 4A3, which is superintendent announcements, be moved under recognition as 2-5. And the reason I'm making this request is so that the students who are here will not have to sit through the meeting as long. And then, with approval, Mr. President, I'm going to ask that item 5G2, and so 5G2 is under Equity, Innovation, and Social Justice. There is a student presentation from Enlace under Dr. Roberto Lozano. First of all, we have that marked in red. That is not an action item. That's just going to be a presentation. So my apologies to the board. And secondly, I would like to ask if that could also be moved to the superintendent announcements. And we will do that presentation after public input under 4A3.
Okay.
if that so meets the approval of the board.
Okay, so with those amendments to the agenda, okay, I will take a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, and all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and that carries. The agenda has been amended. I will entertain a motion to approve consent agenda items VC1, student out-of-state travel, VD1, budget adjustment request, VD2, bids, VD3, disposal of property, and VD4, vendor payments.
So move.
A second?
I'll second it.
Okay, and all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that motion also carries. The board met in closed executive session on May 15th, 2018, from 5:05 PM until 6:26 PM to discuss A, limited personnel matters as permitted under Section 10-15-H2, specifically for the superintendent to update the board regarding the investigations of certified and classified employees by the superintendent, and inform the board of specific employee movements. And B, discussion of personally identifiable information about individual students as permitted under Section 10-15-1H4 of the New Mexico Open Meetings Act, specifically so the superintendent can update the board and legal counsel can advise regarding student investigations and disciplinary actions. And C, discuss collective bargaining strategies preliminary to bargaining negotiations as permitted under Section 10-15-1H5 of the New Mexico Open Meetings Act. I need a quick drink. Is that, that doesn't need to be,
Okay, that's fine.
thank you.
There's something for your throat.
And now, Mr. President, if I may, we have recognitions next on the agenda.
Yes.
And so at this time, Ms. Landine, are we, Ms. Ziegelhofer? So, yes, so Mr. President, with permission, may we proceed with the recognitions portion of the meeting? Ms.
Permission is
Ziegelhofer,
granted.
please take the stand.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the board, Mr. Superintendent. I'm thrilled to be here this evening to continue our celebration that we started last night in recognizing some of our hardworking staff in the district. Tonight, I bring before you our Employees of the Year. So I would like to invite the board and Mr. Superintendent to come forward and join me. Sorry, I got a little choked up. I'm so excited.
I lost half of my candy. Okay, here it is.
I have another one.
Okay.
Here you go.
I don't want to leave it on the floor and have, visitors. Okay, thank you.
So while the board and the superintendent get organized, for our audience, I'll let you know that we had a wonderful school year and that we had created a new award. But each year we do recognize and identify a Teacher of the Year. It was a tough job for our committee to do this year. We narrowed it down to 2 finalists. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up our finalist, who is our runner-up, first, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about her. Please hold your applause until she gets here. But I will ask her principal, Ms. Nubia Tarazona, to escort her to the front of the room. I'm happy to introduce you to Sylvia Mariscal. And I believe she's here because some of her students were performing this evening. Sylvia is currently a bilingual teacher at East Picacho Elementary School. She has been with the district for a total of 13 years and has more than 18 years of experience as a teacher. Throughout her career, she has taught kinder, 3rd, and 4th grade at a number of schools, including East Picacho, University Hills, and Fair Acres. In addition to her extensive accomplishments in the classroom, Sylvia started a ballet folklorico after-school program for 50-plus students, which has helped to build a stronger community and increase parent involvement. 2 years ago, she started another after-school program which offers English and Spanish classes for parents. Sylvia's essay describes her passion for providing a whole child approach to education. She stated, "Students today come to school with social, emotional, and language issues that must be addressed for academic success to occur. Her goal is to meet these individual needs of all her students and help them and their families feel empowered." I present to you our Teacher of the Year runner-up, Sylvia Mariscal.
is doing what teachers do every day. She is with her students. So, principal, tell her congratulations from us and continue the good work.
Well, we're very proud of Sylvia, and we're grateful to have her as an educator in our schools. Next, I'm very proud to introduce to you our 2019 Las Cruces Public Schools Teacher of the Year. Principal Jim Shepacom, will you please escort David Nunez from Oñate High School to the front? And before I read this, I'd like to point out that Mr. Nunez was selected from 29 other teachers to be our Teacher of the Year, so congratulations. David Nunez is currently a social studies teacher in cross country and track and field coach at Oñate High School. He has been with the district for his entire 28-year teaching career. Throughout his work, David has helped his many students not only become collaborative and engaged students, but also active community members. His modern approach to education even led one of his students to write a bill, which was later signed into law by Governor Susana Martinez. In his essay describing his unique teaching style, Mr. Nunez stated, "In order to get students to become capable learners, involving them in a more authentic learning experience where students have a voice in their own learning is essential. By emphasizing communication, creativity, collaboration, creative thinking, and problem solving. He helps to ensure his students obtain the skills, knowledge, and expertise needed to succeed in work and life in the 21st century." I introduce to you our 2019 Las Cruces Public Schools Teacher of the Year, David Nunez. Mr. Nunez, we're very proud to have you as our Teacher of the Year. Thank you for everything you do.
So we'll do a separate photo of you, and then we'll do the group first, actually. And then one with just Sylvia, and then one with just. Okay. And then David.
Let's give them another round of applause. And our celebration continues with our newly created LCPS Educational Support Personnel of the Year Award. This year, Dr. Ewing felt it very important to honor our hardworking classified staff, so we were proud to initiate the same process, and we allowed each of our campuses to nominate Educational Support Personnel of the Year. Those people automatically went forward for our district award, and we had the tough job of going through 41 applications. And so I am proud to present to you two of the individuals who rose out of that and became our finalists, and then the one that did become our LCPS Educational Support Personnel of the Year. So I'm going to start with our runner-up, and I will ask that Principal Dr. Tony Hull please escort Joe Holguin from Mesilla Valley Leadership Academy to the front. Let me tell you a little bit about Joe Holguin. He is currently the lead custodian at Mesilla Valley Leadership Academy. He has been with the district a total of 11 years and has worked as a custodial engineer at a variety of LCPS campuses, including MVLA, East Picacho, Fair Acres, Booker T, the Physical Plant Department, and the Administration Building. Throughout his career, Joe has taken an active role in the education process by building elaborate sets and props for project-based learning activities. When asked to describe his work philosophy, Joe said, "When you show a kid you care about them, you get a big response." As part of his nomination, Dr. Hull described Joe's dedication to supporting students and staff. She stated, "Joe supports student success not only by doing his custodial duties, but also by providing encouraging words for students and spending his time and resources to making experiences come alive. Joe always seeks out ways to help others and puts his whole heart into everything he does every day. He's an absolutely amazing leader and an integral part of the educational process." I present to you our 2019 Educational Support Personnel runner-up, Joe Holguin. We're very proud of you. Thank you, Mr. Holguin, for everything you do. Next, I ask Bobby Stout, Director of the Physical Plant Department, to escort his employee Noel Martinez to the front as I present to you the 2019 Las Cruces Public Schools Educational Support Staff of the Year. Noel Martinez is currently the lead welder at the Las Cruces Public Schools Physical Plant Department. He has been with the district for the past 14 years and has spent the past 11 as the district's welder. Throughout his work as a welder, he has helped to fabricate everything from handrails to basketball goals and everything in between. He even created and later updated a custom toilet seat device for a student who has a disability. Noel also works extensively with our Excel program to teach high school students about maintenance trades and the basics of welding. When asked about his experience in teaching with the Excel program, Noel says, "The learning environment has to be just right for the students so they can gain the most from the experience." As part of his nomination, Executive Director of Physical Plant, Mr. Stout, described Noel's positive attitude and dedication to his craft. He states Noel has consistently gone above and beyond to ensure student safety and success. He leads by example, both with his fellow peers and the students he mentors. His ability to visualize in 3 dimensions has led him to predict and solve future problems before they ever occur. He is a humble, hardworking young man dedicated to helping students and staff. Once again, I present you the 2019 Educational Support.
Thank you.
Let's have another round of applause for all of our finalists and our employees of the year. Thank you so much. And that's it for me, Mr. Superintendent. I'll turn it back over to you.
Yes, ma'am. So, Mr. President, we're going to continue. We have Chief of Staff Karen Landine. Board, if we will stay where we are.
Good evening, Mr. President, board members, and Dr. Ewing. We have a couple more recognitions this evening. I would like to invite Julie Janeka to please come forward. Give you your certificate. Have you stand? If you remember, we recognized Ms. Janeka at one of our previous meetings for being named the New Mexico Ag in the Classroom Teacher of the Year. Well, tonight I'm happy to report that she was one of only 8 teachers from throughout the nation who earned the 2018 Excellence in Teaching About Agriculture Award from the National Agriculture in the Classroom Organization. Ms. Janeka won the award based on her ability to teach various general education topics using agricultural concepts from a 9-week Chile-themed curriculum she developed and refined over the past 3 years. Congratulations, and thank you for the work you do every day.
Thank you.
All right, great job. All right, is Miss Carmen Cano in the audience? If I could ask you, Mrs. Cano, to come forward. Once in a while, you find that special educator who teaches instinctively, who uses their training to enhance what they already know how to do, which is to give their students what they need to succeed in school as well as in life. An educator who makes a lifelong impression on her students. One such person is Mrs. Carmen Cano. Mrs. Cano is an educational assistant who has been at Booker T. Washington Elementary for over 50 years. Mrs. Cano began her career as part of the pilot Teacher's Aid program implemented by J. Paul Taylor in 1965. At that time, she was assigned to the Head Start program, and she loved being a part of the children's first learning experience. She has a knack for developing rapport with the students and their families and making the students feel secure. Teachers throughout her career have thoroughly enjoyed working with Mrs. Cano, and they see her as an asset in the classroom. Parents will tell you that their children flourished in large part because of the way that Mrs. Cano helped them, not just with academics, but with social skills and self-esteem. In her 50-plus years at Booker T. Washington, Mrs. Cano has played an important role in hundreds, I would say probably thousands, of children's lives. For Mrs. Cano, it has always been about the children first. These days, wherever she goes, she's greeted by former students who recognize her and thank her for the impact that she has had. For these reasons, we would like to recognize Mrs. Carmen Cano for her dedicated and unwavering service to the students of our district. Congratulations.
Oh, he wants to sell.
Thank you.
At this time, we are going to recognize the Monte Vista Vista chess team for their accomplishments. And I would like to ask Mr. Manuel Castillo to come forward. Is he here? Yes. All right.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, members of the board, and Superintendent Dr. Ewing for giving me this opportunity to recognize these amazing kids. You know, last year I told myself that I was going to lose some weight because your camera's at about 60 pounds. Unfortunately, that didn't happen, but the weight I wanted to lose was the weight that we gained in our trophy case back at our school. So, you know, throughout the school year, the Monte Vista chess team wowed me over and over again. Their work ethic paired with their intelligence made them a force to be reckoned with. We competed in a lot of tournaments, but I would like to focus specifically on 3. 2 of these tournaments were hosted by the New Mexico Scholastic Chess Organization, which were nationally ranked, and of course, the 3rd being state. We competed in the junior high chess championship for practice, but our teams ended up placing first in both sections, making us the 2018 New Mexico junior high under 1,000 and under 500 chess champions. 2 months later, we went to Albuquerque and the same story followed in the elementary chess championships. We walked away the 2018 New Mexico elementary under 950 chess champions and the 2018 primary chess champions. We had a lot of success in chess this far, but our journey was yet to be over. We were headed to state, a tournament that would determine which school actually had the best chess team. The tournaments I was talking about were difficult, but we were able to prepare because we were the students were posted online as they registered, so I was able to study them, the win-loss percentage, their game statistics, etc. State was different. We had no idea who we were going to be paired against. We had no idea who was going to be sitting across from us, what their ratings were, and pretty much anything their past. Age, grade, and rating were set aside. It was their best versus our best. The top teams from Albuquerque, Santa Fe, and Taos were in the building, along with top teams from northern New Mexico. But we were 100% ready. We feared no one. Our opening theory was on point. We studied a lot of middle game positions, did a lot of calculations, and solved many tactics. The first round, we were paired with the 2017 state champions. Those kids were known as the best and the highest rated in the state. So the time came. Everything led up to this moment. The tournament director yelled out, "If your opponent's there and you're ready, start your clocks and you may begin." And then that's what happened. So we won that match, and we won the following 3 matches after that, making us undefeated. Now, before introducing these kids, I would like to recognize the chess club president. He's a strong leader. He sets an example on and off the board, is always willing to improve the chess game of other kids, and he makes chess fun, even when I don't. So I would like to call up Jacob Wilson.
Hello, my name is Jacob Wilson, and I have been playing chess for a couple of years now. This year I was the Monte Vista chess president. Being president meant that I got to help my coach and that my coach saw potential in me. Monte Vista winning the chess state title is like winning the Super Bowl. You felt like you've just won the most important thing in your life. Next year, I will be attending Sierra Middle School as a 6th grade student. Playing chess has prepared me for middle school because it taught me how to think of things in a different way, even when your first plan doesn't work out. Thank you for your time this evening.
One more thing. some of our kids travel all the way to Albuquerque, and we travel to get a trophy for our school. So I would like to thank our principal, Mr. Acosta, for providing these medals for our kids. And he supported us and gave us everything that we needed to become as successful as we did. So thank you so much, Mr. Acosta.
Aaron, can you help us with these certificates?
Absolutely.
All right. Our first certificate of recognition goes to Nevin. Nehemiah. Mia. Jackson. Jacob. Elijah. Ephraim. Braden. Angelita. Oh, I hope I don't say it wrong. Abella or Abella? Abella. And Manuel. Congratulations to all of you.
Let me see. Maybe 2 rows of the chess masters here.
Let's get, let's see if maybe 4 of you can step up. And move over, and maybe you two. Can you step up one? And then you come this way a little bit, come this way just a little bit. There you go, there you go. And then the board, you guys have to switch here.
Okay, we can do that. Coach, this, we need you in this better.
Yes. All right. There you go. Smile. Mama's going to be right there.
Okay, smile. This is big. This really is better than the Super Bowl. Okay. So if I could get everyone looking over here. Okay, we need one more. Hold it. Okay. When you win the Super Bowl, you okay, this is where you have it.
Oh, let me get one looking at me real quick. 1, 2, 3, smile. There we go.
Okay.
All right. Abella, how old are you? 6. How old are you? 6. Okay. You're first grade? Thank you, sir. Okay, you all can head on back. And we hope to see you back here next year. All right, kindergartners playing chess. That's awesome. All right, as you can see by the crowd in the room, we have some other state champions with us tonight. So we have had a very successful spring season. So I would like to ask our Assistant Athletic Director, Mr. Bobby Campos, to come up and tell you who we have here.
Mr. President, members of the board, Dr. Ewing, it's my pleasure that I get to introduce our state champions from the Spring Sports 2018, and we'll get straight to them. What I'm going to do is we're going to start with Las Cruces High School. As I call your names, please come up, and if we can hold our applause, I know parents, you want to applaud, but we're going to get all the girls and coaches up here, and then we'll applaud for them. Number 13, Brooklyn Monsivais. Number 10, Rylan Gonzalez. Number 15, Anisa Triste. Number 9, Mariah Gallegos. Sorry. Number 7, Anali Rios. Number 8, Desi Martinez. Number 14, Samantha Lopez. Number 6, Heaven Piquinto. Number 23, Angelique Lozoya. Number 4, Crystal Lerma. Number 2, Jordan Mendoza. Number 11, Joris Kogels. I hope I didn't butcher that too bad. I'm sorry, dear. Number 16, Ashley Morales. And the coaches are Alex Lopez, head coach. Come on up, coach. Assistant coaches are Gilbert Bustillos, Mike Cedillos, Taylor Lopez, Ray Lozoya, and Sam Mendoza.
Can we applaud now?
Yes, sir, absolutely. As I mentioned, these are the 2018 6A softball champions for the state of New Mexico. I'm just going to read a little short paragraph here. As destiny would have it, the Lady Bulldogs softball team finished the 2018 softball season as New Mexico's 6A state champions. Their sheer determination and will to compete was on display this past weekend as these young ladies, seeded number 7 in the tournament, defeated number 1, Volcano Vista, and number 2, Rio Rancho, on their way to the state title. Our student athletes competed with class and exhibited great sportsmanship throughout the weekend. The coaching staff and Las Cruces High School could not be more proud of each and every one of them. Congratulations, ladies. Mr. Carrillo and Mr. Gomez, are you here? Can come up with your team, please? Ms. Grubbs, Mr. Handy, I'd like you up here as well.
Isn't it correct that they won 3 elimination games as well, right?
They won the play-in game, and then they won out. They only lost 1 game in the entire weekend. They had to play the if game on Saturday in order to win the championship, and they did.
That's amazing.
Okay. Another row, I don't know. Okay. Can you do it? Can you do it? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Smile. Okay. We're good.
Okay, softball was not the only sport going on in Albuquerque this weekend. We also had a track competition going up there, and this was for 4, 5, and 6A. Of course, all of our schools are in 6A. For state track, we're going to start off with Mayfield, state champions. We have Kayla Stevens, is the 2018 pole vault state champion with a vault of 11 foot. Kayla, if you can come up, Mr. Rue, Mr. Frost. Mr. Frost back there hiding somewhere? Come on up. Kayla's head coach is Coach Parks. He couldn't make it tonight, so we're going to go ahead and go on here. Kayla's the daughter of Cindy and Mark Stevens. She maintains a 3.9 GPA. In track and field, Kayla is a two-time district champion pole vaulter, broke the school pole vault record, and is the first state champion pole vaulter at Mayfield. Kayla has participated in Mayfield's Educators Rising program and has helped with local youth track club in Las Cruces. Kayla is planning on attending college and is seriously interested in competing at the collegiate level. Congratulations, Kayla. Mayfield had one other state champion. Chris Maryuen was a 2018 triple jump state champion with a jump of 45 feet and 25 inches. Unfortunately, Chris couldn't make it tonight. He had other things he had to attend. So we're going to move on, and Paul, if we can get our pictures up here.
Yeah, you're fine.
Thank you. Come on up here, Mark. We'll get a picture. Let's hold that for Dad. You want your picture? Take your picture from up here. Congratulations, Katie. We have one more set of state track champions to recognize here. This is from Centennial, the 6A Sprint Medley champions. The head coach of Centennial is Frankie Benavides. Girls, if you can come on up, and coach, if you can come on up, that'd be great, and I'll go ahead and read this bio here. It has your names in it. The sprint medley team consisting of Krista Atiogbi, Krya Clemens, Savannah Mikobi, and Desiree Martinez. That was the easiest one to pronounce there, by the way. Demonstrated great determination and grit at the state championship. All year they had worked hard to give themselves an opportunity to compete at the state meet. Each of these athletes worked all summer, fall, winter, and spring to ready themselves. Entering the state meet, they were ranked 13th out of 14 qualifiers. They crossed the line as the second fastest medley team in New Mexico history. We knew going into it that this would be a special team with a great opportunity to win it all. We're very proud of these young women. They represented Centennial, LCPS, and the Las Cruces community with dignity and pride. It was a great day for Southern New Mexico. Congratulations. Mr. Montoya, the principal, will join in for the pictures. And Mr. Carrillo, they'd like you to join as well.
You gotta take that LC camera. Now remember your new job, no favorites.
I'm proud of you guys. You did a great job. Yeah. Thank you.
Coach. We have one more spring state champion to recognize, again from Centennial High School. This is in the sport of golf. 6A individual state champion for golf is Nolan Gillihan. Nolan, if you can come on up. Coach Gonzalez. Nolan was a 5-year letterman in golf at Centennial. His senior year, he was a top 5 individual medalist in every tournament Centennial played in. His sophomore year, he finished 6th at the state tournament. Nolan finished 7th his junior year and was a 6A individual state champion his senior year. He is enrolled at NMSU to continue his education. Congratulations.
You can stand next to Maria. Maria, could you shift over? Okay. It may have been in my way. We're good. We're good.
Board members and Dr. Ewing, that concludes our recognitions for this evening. Thank you.
Very good. Oh, that's fine.
It is such a pleasure to recognize our staff for their amazing achievements and our students who have achieved beyond anybody's wildest expectations. Congratulations to all of them. It is truly a fun part of this meeting. Thank you. So I think at this point, we're going to move to public input. But before we move to public input, I would like to remind our audience of the board's procedures for handling public comment, which are found in Board Policy BEDH and on the sign-up card. Each speaker must complete a sign-up card prior to speaking. Public comment is limited to 3 minutes per individual speaker and 5 minutes for each group spokesperson. The board welcomes public input. The board does not prohibit public criticism or comment upon personnel matters. However, any person making public comments shall be solely responsible for the content of his or her comments. The board neither adopts nor assumes responsibility for any comments made by individuals during the public input section of the board meeting. So with that said, we will now move to hearing from David Morales.
I have to put on my old man glasses. That's what my students call them. Good evening, President Frank, members of the board, and Superintendent Dr. Ewing. I'm happy to have this opportunity to address you this evening. I would like to start by thanking all of you for either visiting my classroom, and if you haven't, this is an open invitation, or for attending the 8th Annual Enlace Youth Action Research Conference. Your presence validated the hard work of all the students that presented and valued the work of the teaching professionals that prepared them. I love my profession. I love what I do. It is who I am, even on the grumpy days. But unfortunately, out in the real world, our profession has been attacked and denigrated, and that perception has come home. Last night, as I was at a local store buying supplies for my yearly senior gift, which is a student survival kit made of little plastic baggies filled with knickknacks and stuffs. And as I was walking in the aisles, picking up tissues and lifesavers, I overheard two store employees talking about teachers. When I turned into the next aisle where they stood, the gentleman said, with his back to me, not knowing that I was there, "I can't imagine why someone would become a teacher." It stung. It hurt. As I neared them, I must have had my teacher look on, because he instantly apologized. Tell me, it wasn't that he thought poorly of teachers, but he couldn't understand why we do what we do. I'm here tonight to ask you for your help. I need your help. We need your help in closing the gap between what we ask teachers to do and the resources we give them to do it with. I know this board and the superintendent gets it, but I'm here to ask you for just a little bit more. I'm here to ask that as you consider the budget, please prioritize well-resourced classrooms so that our students can do what they do best and focus on what every student needs. Thank you.
Thank you, David. And our next public input is Delilah Morales.
Good evening, President Frank, board members, and Superintendent Dr. Ewing. I'm excited to be included in tonight's meeting, and first of all, I want to say I'm not as great a speaker as my husband over there, David, but I'm probably just as passionate or even maybe more so. So let me start by saying that I would like to recognize the efforts that the board has, the efforts of the board to provide a quality education to all of our students. My name is Delilah Morales, and I'm a first grade inclusion teacher at Hillrise Elementary, and I can't imagine myself doing anything else. While our class sizes and SPED numbers continue to increase, our resources continue to shrink. Hillrise is a Title I school. All of our students are on free lunch. Most of our students' parents try to help out as much as they can, but most are unable to provide more than what is asked at the beginning of the school year, while some cannot provide at all. Resources have become so scarce that teachers are reaching into their own pockets to provide the needed materials for instruction. I, along with other teachers in the district, have provided items such as crayons, colored pencils, and glue sticks for our students. So those of you who have never worked with primary students, I need to tell you that glue sticks is one of the most prized possessions a first grade teacher can have. My 19-year-old son, when he heard me saying that I had run out of glue sticks by Christmas, bought me glue sticks as a Christmas present. And I was so excited, I sent a picture to my team members to show them that we had some more glue sticks to help us out. In addition to all those things, we purchased printer ink, laminating sheets, baskets for books, disinfecting wipes, tissue, and about 1 million other things that our kids need. We've even purchased clothes and jackets and shoes for our kids. We do this because we love our students. However, the financial burden is becoming overwhelming. So I have an ask of you tonight as well. As you consider next year's budget and as you determine how to plan to allocate the resources we have, I urge you to please prioritize well-funded classrooms so that our teachers can focus on helping our kids learn and to help them become successful leaders. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. We will surely do the best we can. Our next is Mary Montoya.
Good evening, President Frank, members of the board, Dr. Ewing. My name is Mary Montoya, and I'm a 5th grade teacher at Fair Acres. I want to thank the district for being open to dialogue with the teachers in this district. Today, I met with my 5th grade team, and we made a list of things we think are important for you to consider during your budget discussions. The first is regarding staff. We need to ensure that our schools are well resourced with classes small enough for one-on-one attention. We've noticed that the larger class sizes makes it harder to address problem behaviors. We also need to make sure our staff are able to play their intended roles at the school. Counselors need to have time in their day to work with students individually. Often their days are completely full teaching specials. And we need social workers at our school sites. We have students and families who would really benefit from these services. Regarding program support and professional development, before moving forward with well-intended programs, we urge the district to fully invest in training and the resources to make these programs successful. Too often our staffs are asked to implement programs without adequate training and without adequate resources. Finally, regarding parent engagement, safety has been greatly improved at our school sites, and everyone in the schools are very grateful. And we know that the board genuinely is concerned. Parents without background checks are stopped in the office and are unable to go on to their child's classroom unaccompanied by office staff. Safety is very important, but sometimes the cost of the background checks for these parents for fingerprinting can be a barrier to our volunteers at our schools. It would be great if the district would have a fund for parents to access these fees or access so that these fees could be waived. And we could host a night at the schools dedicated to background checks and fingerprinting instead of the parents having to come down to central office. To the board members, we know that you too are volunteers. And we thank you for your hard work on behalf of our students, our staffs, and our schools. Thank you.
Thank you. Matthew Ryder.
Good evening, President Frank, members of the board, and Dr. Ewing. My name is Matthew Ryder. I've been teaching elementary music for LCPS I'm in the midst of my 19th year now. And I would like to address the room this evening about the importance of continuing to make educational decisions with our students' needs at the forefront. We must continue to put our students first as we move forward and strive to make LCPS the best district that it can be. We can do this, and our students deserve this. Our students deserve reasonable class sizes because every student, from the highest achievers to those who struggle daily just to walk in the front door, they deserve as much individualized attention as possible. Our professional development and professional learning communities need to continue to move away from a data-driven focus to one that focuses on pedagogy and best practices. We need to find the resources and access these resources within our own buildings. Each and every school in Las Cruces has experts in teaching math, teaching reading and writing, science, social studies, Spanish, music, and PE. We have people who have classroom management skills that are masterful. We need to find these people, utilize their expertise. We can learn from them. We need time to teach beyond the core subjects. We need time to teach pro-social behaviors, time to teach conflict resolution skills, and time to teach empathy. The term rigor has been used a lot in education lately, and I know we can all agree that it is important to set high standards and expectations for our students. However, the term rigor has also placed a lot of pressure within our learning environments. Teachers feel they do not have the time or the adequate training to teach these incredibly important social skills. This time would be investment well worth our while, because high-functioning social environments will lead to higher functioning academic environments. Our schools need to be looked at closely, and each deserve an individual resource needs assessment. Although many of our schools share similar needs, they are each in their own way unique too. Addressing issues such as school size, staffing, looking at the socioeconomic area in which the school is, looking at the age of our buildings, looking at the physical spaces that our students have or don't have to learn in, and the important extracurricular activities. These will all be very important to continue developing a district that is equitable. And finally, our students deserve the right to be taught and assessed in a manner that is authentic and meaningful for our students in LCPS. No one knows these kids better than the teachers that work with them each and every day. Teachers should be encouraged and empowered to find and use their individual talents, their individual skills, and use what they know about their students to help ensure a meaningful and impactful education for all.
Please wrap up.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Gail Wheeler.
Hello. I come to you from the mean streets of Crossroads, and I would like to speak to you on their behalf. As much as I loved watching the little unicorn chess player, okay, and those delightful athletes, right? My kids don't have that. I get teary because they never have a good time, all right? They have, in fact, been invited to leave the party. And that makes me sad, and I hope it makes you sad as well. I'm sorry, I'm not following the rules. I'm supposed to thank you before I keep going. So I do want to thank you. I want to thank you for the direction that we're going now. Restorative justice, I believe in that stuff, okay? Best practices tell us that we need to have mental health people in the classroom to help our kids. I've been at Crossroads since we opened 10 years ago, and not one kid, not one, and I have taught every single kid who's gone through the high school program. Not one of them has come through without trauma. They all have trauma. The other thing that they have in common, they're all in that bottom quartile. We love quartiles in education, right? And that test score would tell you that every single one of my kids is way down in the bottom quartile, and I'm telling you they are not. Because when you give them good material, engaging material, and you make sure that they are fed before they keep going, they can read and write like a champion, okay? When I told my kids I was coming today, I asked Jonas, right before he took his test, what do you want me to tell the school board? And this is what he said, and I apologize in advance for the inappropriateness of the metaphor, but I will not apologize for the vivid language. He said, tell them we're locked and loaded with knowledge. I love that, because we have softened up at Crossroads. So I am asking you as a board, will you please soften up? They don't need to be any grittier. They don't need any more rigor, but they do need some understanding. They need some time, and they need some attention from the board. So when you go to make your very important decisions, and I get it, money is the most important thing in the world, but I'm going to ask you to please make sure that you are locked and loaded with compassion and kindness. And please remember that we are often judged by the way that we treat the poorest and the most vulnerable in the district. And I work with them every day, and they are worth saving, and they are worth paying attention to. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Carol Owensby.
Next time I'd like to request I don't follow Gail.
I understand.
But thank you. Good evening, President Frank, Board of Education members, Dr. Ewing, and Dominic, my former student. My name is Carol Owensby, and I'm an English teacher and AES facilitator at Arrowhead Park Early College High School. I would like to briefly discuss teacher evaluations in my remarks. First of all, as we all know, there's no tired like end-of-the-year teacher tired. But that's okay, because we have chosen this profession in order to give back to our community, and because we want to help nurture future generations. However, in order for teacher practice to remain student-centered, can we acknowledge that within the confines of the school day, teachers are really only performing about a third of their job? Because we spend our days performing our primary duty of working with students, we must take time to plan and grade outside of the school day. So more than anything, teachers deserve an evaluation system that is an accurate reflection of their daily work. When we don't have that, it is disheartening, and that eventually affects our commitment to the profession, which then affects our interaction with students. It is hard to teach young people how to be better humans when we ourselves feel dehumanized by the rubric imposed upon us by the state evaluation tool. I would like to thank you, Dr. Ewing, for your assurances that the results of the statistically flawed state evaluation tool will not be used against us when making personnel decisions. We urge the district to value the local expertise and experience of school principals, to evaluate educators in their own buildings rather than rely on the state's controversial, statistically flawed, value-added algorithm, the same kind that is being struck down in courts all over the country. We urge the district to simply issue teachers meaningful evaluations and ratings that their principals have given them, based on their firsthand and rigorous observations. We urge the district to do that this year, so maybe we can save some teachers from leaving the profession they love. And we look forward to working with you and the Board of Education to develop a new and better tool which reflects the true value of educator efforts in the classroom. Thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you. And Brian DeLeo.
Good afternoon, Board. I'm Brian De La O, one of the resident officers who lives at Vista Middle School. Now I'm here in reference to you guys possibly terminating the leases for the resident officers that are residing on the premises. I understand it's not my decision, but I'd like to be involved in the discussion that you guys have prior to making your decision. In today's society and day and age, with all the security breaches, all the violence going on, I don't think it's a good idea to reduce security. As far as we know, Las Cruces has been lucky not to have any active shooters in the area. It's been going on through all New Mexico, the whole United States. Reducing security, I feel, would be the worst thing you guys can possibly do. Like I said, Las Cruces has been lucky. There's been a few close calls with people that they've thought there's been active shooters or possible active shooters. Having a resident with a patrol vehicle in that area who lives there, I think reduces the possibility of anything occurring. I just like to be involved in the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. I would like to thank all of the people that spoke during public input. You spoke eloquently and passionately in support of our students, and I certainly appreciate it. Thank you. So I think we're done with public input. This is all I have up here, and I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Ewing.
Yes, sir. Mr. President, Madam Vice President, members of the board, and to the members of our audience. Our normal practice is not to comment on public input, but I do want to say thank you to the teachers who came up here this evening. And Gail, I've been in your classroom and we've talked in the hallway. I also want to say to our teachers for the evaluation system, I've had conversations with Mary Par-Sanchez, and I've asked Mary if she would begin looking at the evaluation and have some recommendations for us January 1, when we have a new administration in office that might perhaps give us some flexibility. So we're going to be ready to go on day one once we have a new person at the Public Education Department and a new governor. And I'm committed to truly, I don't want to say judge, because teachers shouldn't ever be judged, but I'm committed to giving teachers the evaluation they deserve based on the pedagogical skills that they have. And I truly believe in that. And I think that can only be done by individuals coming in and seeing what you do on a daily basis, in and out. And so until then, put those evaluations in a folder and put them in the bottom of your desk drawer, because we will get you a meaningful evaluation. And now, Mr. President, Madam Vice President, members of the board, I'm going through the order. We've changed the agenda, but I'm going to call on President Alberson, NEA Las Cruces, for her comments, and then Ms. Valdespino, you'll be next. So President Alberson.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the board, Superintendent Ewing, and devoted colleagues. As we end the year, I thought I'd take a minute to reflect where we are and what we've accomplished. We've accomplished a lot. I think since my time in being in this seat, we've had incredible discussions, and moving forward, I think I have a lot of hope in the direction that we're going. As a high school teacher, I've had the privilege of walking with the teens of our community as they overcome their own hurdles on their paths to adulthood. Each May, our high schools are buzzing as seniors finish their coursework and say goodbye to the friends, staff, and family they've grown to love as they face that big, big world. But this year is different for me. You see, my daughter is graduating. My little, dang it, I'm going to hold it together. Okay. My little 8-pound, 2-ounce girl has grown into a woman. It's been a roller coaster over the last 13 years, but I finally get it. I see it and I feel it. What we do really matters. It matters so much. I remember when I took Angel to her first day of kindergarten. She had never been left with a stranger, and now I had to trust her to her safety and well-being to an entire building of unknowns. We saw those cuties tonight, their eyes wide and full of wonder. They were so adorable. And that was my baby, right? Every adult she encountered left an impact on her, from our food service workers who fed her to the custodians who kept her building clean, our school nurses who helped her aching belly, to our counselors who were a resource of support for her and more often for me. Our teachers taught her more than the standards, and our administrators, those darn administrators, they held the door open and invited her to walk in so that she could have the strength to walk out. See, we love those little babies like they're our own when they're in our classroom and in our schools. And whether we see it or not, we share our gifts and give the students the tools they need for that next step. I didn't become an advocate to fight for teachers. In fighting for teachers, I'm fighting for students, for my daughters. I wouldn't have had the strength to stand here tonight if it hadn't been for the village I found in this district. Raising kids is hard. It's so darn hard. But when I see my girl healthy, dreaming of a future and spreading her wings to fly into this big, scary world of unknowns, I know she'll be okay because she has been given the tools, and I'm so thankful. So I want to congratulate the class of 2018. You did it. And to your teachers, nurses, custodians, and all the adults who have cheered you on, challenged you, and kept you safe, thank you. Because of you, my kid can dream. To the board, Dr. Ewing, we're exhausted, but we're not done yet. We still have our work cut out for us in the next month. We need to craft and pass a budget that reflects and responds to the needs for students and staff. New Mexico has one of the highest attrition rates in the nation. We need to do everything possible to retain our talented educators who do what's best for our kids every day. We need to complete our interest-based bargaining with an outcome that we can all celebrate. And we each need to use our summer to recharge, reflect, and grow our practices so that in the fall, when our students return, they can feel the impact. Speaking for the members of NEA Las Cruces, we are willing to roll up our sleeves and do the hard work for what is best for children, still getting their toolboxes ready. Our educators want to be heard. As the experts on the ground who are doing the work, they deserve notable respect, recognition, and trust. It isn't time for change. It is time for improvement, and there's always room for improvement. We might not always agree, and some conversations are going to be tough. But I'm here as a teacher, an advocate, and a mom to tell you that the decisions that you make matters. Thank you.
And now, Mr. President, Madam Vice President, members of the board, with permission, President Valdespino from CSEC Las Cruces.
Mr. President, Frank, members of the board, and Superintendent Ewing. First of all, I'd like to introduce here, we have a guest, very special guest. She is a teacher from, who worked in LCPS at Jornada Elementary, is special ed. Our president of NEA New Mexico, Betty Patterson. Betty, stand up. A tremendous advocate for teachers and classified staff public education students. First of all, I'd like to thank Dr. Ewing initiating the first LCPS Educational Support Personnel of the Year. I appreciate your recognition. You and I have had various talks about classified staff and their role in education and how they truly support education in the classroom and in each and every area. If you go into the cafeterias, you'd be surprised and amazed at the work that these ladies do. I would never attempt to do that work because I wouldn't want a cafeteria manager to tell me that I'm too slow in packing the food. As far as being a custodian, it's tremendous, the work that they do. And so thank you, Dr. Ewing, for recognizing that our classified staff indeed need to be recognized as well. I'd like to thank Bridget for her efforts. I don't know if she's still here. When she first called me about being part of the committee to begin the planning of this endeavor. And she did a tremendous job from start to end, and unfortunately I could not attend last night's event. So, as you can see, NEA Las Cruces has begun bargaining. CSEP begins bargaining tomorrow, and we look forward to the collaboration that we'll be working with the district. The legislature appropriated money, and I'm going to talk about money because money is important. It's important for the classroom, for its resources, and also for the livelihood of all educational employees. So sometimes we don't want to talk about money, but money is realistic because it's the livelihood of all educational employees here in the district. The legislature for years and years has not sufficiently funded public education, and that's a shame. Shame on them. For many, many years, they have done an average for classified staff. Classified staff don't work on an average. Many of them put wholeheartedly all their efforts, as you can see tonight by the recognition of Ms. Cano, of Mr. Holguin, and of the welder, I'm sorry, Mr., what was his name? Martinez, thank you very much. So we don't work at an average, we never have. We have put our whole self into education. So why is money important for classified staff? Well, first of all, for its livelihood, but we need to have a mobile workforce in the classified ranks to stop the turnover of so many classified staff. I myself worked for 37 years, and I kind of wonder why I stayed at it. Well, I stayed at it because I was very passionate in working with migrant and bilingual children, and very many educational assistants do the same thing. It's not for the money, it's for the dedication of our kids here in our community. But again, yes, we are important, and I thank you again, Dr. Ewing, for making that recognition. I look forward in working with Mr. Hawkes because he is a union brother of mine, or of many of us, and that is appreciated. He understands what it means that of having to fund public education, and also the importance of the classified staff. He and I have had various discussions, and I look forward to these discussions, very passionate discussions that we have at the table. But at the end, we come out with things that we believe in, and that is what, first and foremost, it's our students. So is money important? You better believe it is important. Important for the state of New Mexico to fund public education. And I hate to hear that New Mexico is a poor state. We are not a poor state. We are so rich in our communities, in our culture. We're not a poor state. Not at all. And I get tired of hearing that we are a poor state. If we could just dig a little bit more into that fund that is there for a rainy day. Well, the rainy day has begun, and it's still raining. It should rain dollars.
Yes.
It should rain dollars. Anyway, thank you very much for allowing me, always, Dr. Ewing, to come up here and make some remarks. And you know that my focus is always on classified staff. However, the focus is always on all educational employees, public education, and first and foremost, our students. Thank you.
Thank you.
And now, Mr. President, Madam Vice President, members of the board, and to the members of our audience, I'm going to call on Dr. Roberto Lozano. He's going to have some students with the Enlace group from Las Cruces High School. Is that right? Yes. So Las Cruces students, if you will be ready, Dr. Lozano will cue us up.
So, Mr. President, members of the board, and Mr. Superintendent, first, thank you for switching the agenda item to at the beginning. As you know, our students have class tomorrow, so we really, truly appreciate that. I had the pleasure of visiting Ms. Bustillo's classroom last Thursday morning. I was there for a couple of hours, and it was truly a joy to not only interact with the kids, but see how passionate they were about a topic that you all heard a couple of weeks ago in regards to suicide. So Ms. Bustillos is part of the Enlace program, which is a very successful program here in our district. And one of their goals each year is to come up with a project that really addresses a need in the community. And I think I'm speaking now too much, Ms. Bustillos, so sorry. But one of the topics that they chose was in regards to teen suicide. So what they're here to do today is to do a presentation for you on the research that they've done. And I do want to say that there was a little bump in the road that we had at the beginning in working with the students, but I did make sure to tell them that their efforts have really triggered our district, our schools to really focus on this issue, because it is an issue that unfortunately we have not only here in our district but in the U.S., and they're going to get a little more into detail about that. But with that said, let me introduce you to Ms. Bustillos, who has a few remarks, and then the students. Go ahead.
Mr. President, members of the board, and Superintendent Ewing, thank you for having me back twice in a month. I think that's more than my 21 years of teaching experience. I feel like I'm in front of the principal. I'm in trouble. I've been part of Enlace for over 10 years, I think now, close to 10 years. And this is the first year that I was able to have a class of just second and third year students, and they took this project and ran. And so thank you for inviting us once again. Dr. Lozano wanted for you all to see what their presentation was going to be. We're a little shaky here. It's the seniors' last day, and they're all seniors and two juniors, and so they're still very passionate and so thankful that they've been given this opportunity, and that this is something close to their heart. So I'm going to let them speak. They're the ones they're the experts. So how do we do this, Dr. Lozano? Where's the presentation? How do we get this done? There we go. There it is. All right, thank you.
It stands up and it happens.
It's magic. See, I tell you, the school board thing is interesting. Okay, no, you don't. Should I introduce the students?
Just their first names.
All right. Mr. President, members of the board, Mr. Dr. Ewing, this is Brenda, Dariana, Leslie, Denise, and David.
Thank you.
Hi, Ms. Basilio said I'm Brenda.
Our project is called Lifeline Day. We started this project after losing a student to suicide and nothing being done about it, as well as losing our principal and staff. After all this, we needed a way to cope with stress and cope with stress and loss, and this project was our way of coping. These are some of the names of the people who contributed to this project, and as Ms. Bustillo said, it was the Enlace level 2 and 3. Why is this a problem? It is estimated that we lose approximately 100 or more young people to suicide each week in our nation.
An American dies by suicide every 12.3 minutes. In 2016, New Mexico had the second highest suicide rate in the U.S.
Suicide is now the 10th leading cause of death in America. Homicide is 15th. For young people 15 to 24 years old, suicide is the second leading cause of death.
What do teens deal with? Exploring increased independence and identity, experimenting with substance use, puberty and hormone fluctuation, more teen issues, increased school pressures as they progress through higher grades, possibly first romantic relationship, peer pressure, bullying, cyberbullying.
Depression in teens. Nowadays, being sad seems to be a bad thing in society, but it's okay to feel blue. We were made for this. We are humans. We feel pain, stress, love, warmth. We were built with emotions. We can't hide them because feeling is what makes us feel alive.
Although suicide is a touchy subject, it is important for everyone to know the difference between an actual suicide and just a suicide attempt.
These are some suicide warnings and signs. Talk. If a person talks about being a burden to others, feeling trapped, experiencing unbearable pain, having no reason to live, and killing themselves. Also for behavior is increased use of alcohol or drugs, acting recklessly, isolating from family and friends, visiting or calling people to say goodbye, and giving away prized possessions, as well as aggression. Mood. People who are considered suicide often display one or more of the following methods. Moods, depression, loss of interest, rage, and anxiety. Risk factors are characteristics or conditions that increase the chance that a person may try to take their lives. Health factors, mental health condition, depression, bipolar, schizophrenia, borderline or antisocial personality disorders, conduct disorders, psychotic disorders, or psychotic symptoms in the context of any disorders. Environmental factors. Stress life events which may include death, divorce, or job loss. Prolonged stress factors which may include harassment, bullying, relationship problems, unemployment, and school. Exposure to another person's suicide or to graphic accounts of suicide, family history, or suicide attempts. The class Enlace level 2s and 3s, we visited Oñate High School, and we talked with Tony Hernandez, the director of Shattered Lives. We talked with the board, they had a meeting and we talked with them. They all jumped on board with our project. And we got a lot of help from them, as well as getting the consent to use their model for our project. It was pulling kids out of class every 12.2 minutes to represent the number of suicides in the U.S. on a daily basis, sequestering students and educating them on suicide prevention and awareness, and having an assembly at the end of the day and showing the entire student body what we did, so that they too would understand why and how we wanted to prevent any more suicides.
The kind of therapy we have is therapy and medication for schizophrenia and many for depression. How can we help? As said, there are educational programs to help students cope with stress and problems. We have also met with Dr. Flores and advised us about having counselors to help us mental health wise and not academic wise. Friends helping friends. If you see anyone with the signs we mentioned earlier, tell someone immediately, even if it means risking your friendship. Remember, your knowledge of suicide ideation could save someone's life. These are just a couple of places that you can go to for help. These are apps, hotlines, apps, and the Jason Foundation is where we got most of our information from. And again, like I mentioned before, remember, your knowledge and awareness of the signs of suicide may save someone's life. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow.
Mr. President, members of the board, and Superintendent Ewing, I really want to emphasize how the efforts of these students has really brought this issue to the forefront of, they've been at the board presenting to you, but also within our district, really triggered a lot of other schools in addressing this very important need that we have in our community of really looking for research-based programs that are going to really get us to a place that we could say we're discussing this and students feel supported when it comes to teen suicide. So again, I really want to commend all the teacher and the students. Like I told you when I visited you, you guys are awesome and keep up the great work. And I do want to say that 2 of the students in that class were in my class, so I take a little credit for how well they're doing now. So again, board, thank you. And just to let you know, we will be continue working with Ms. Bustillos as we move forward. She did inform me that next September is there's a right. September 9th through 13th. So we are going to be working with our mental health specialists here in our district to work on how we are going to bring awareness to this topic. So again, thank you.
Board members, would you like to comment? Yes. Senior
President Frank, I want to thank each and every one of you for the work that you've done. I know that you were affected by it, and it's hard to come up here and speak, but we are proud of you. We're glad that you did, and this is why I like the Enlace program so much. This has been a vehicle for our students to speak out and come and address it over and over again. You've talked to a lot of adults, to a psychiatrist, to the board, and you continue to, as you press on, you will change things at Las Cruces High School. So thank you. I congratulate you. And thank you to the teachers and Dr. Adams for all the work you do on curriculum. We really appreciate it.
President
Yes,
Frank?
yes.
I too want to take a little bit of credit for one of my students, David. He was a former student of mine. But I commend all of you and Ms. Bustillos as well for bringing this to the forefront. As Dr. Lozano said, we need to talk about this more and more, not push it under the rug. This needs to come to the forefront always. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for dealing with a real problem, and you know, I commend you too. Thank you.
Mr. President.
Yes.
And I just want to say thank you. I guess the one thing I really want to say is that your data was eye-opening. You know, you hear about this stuff in the news, you hear about this stuff, and I think, man, I know what you're going to tell me, and it wasn't. You were amazing with the data and how you presented it. It was professional. It was eye-opening, and it was well thought out, and it took a lot of time to do. And so I just want to thank you for that. And you know what? If you save one child's life, you've done your job. And I think that you guys have gone far and beyond that, because you may not know when you've done that. It may not happen. And I just want to let you guys know that whatever happens, you've already saved someone's life. And so I just want to appreciate your time and the effort that you took in bringing that to the board. and you should be commended for it. Thank you.
Mr. Castro.
Yeah, I think it's a very timely subject. These are times, very stressful times for all of us, and I'm sure that the kids in school are getting a big brunt of it. I think this awareness is critically important for all school personnel, including classified security officers need to raise awareness and be watchful, and again make appropriate referrals when it's obvious that the person is to be referred. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank
Dr.
you.
Ewing?
So, Mr. President, Madam Vice President, members of the board, so to the students, I'm going to say to you, I call myself a teacher before anything else. So this is the teacher talking, not the superintendent. But first, I want to say thank you. But I want to do what teachers need to do for you every day. So I'm going to look to Connie in the back. I'm going to invite Connie to take you back into my office. I have soda and candy bars, and they just appear. But I'm going to tell her to put you in the deputy superintendent's office because his furniture is more comfortable than mine, and let them enjoy. That's not easy to stand up there and talk. So give them some sugar before they go home, but go back there and enjoy something. So Connie will take care of you, and Ms. Bustillos, I invite you as well. So take them into my office, and you take a snack and a break for I'm going to say, an A presentation. So Connie, if you'll be so kind as to lead them, and thank you.
The Kit Kat bar is mine, so there's only one left, so I'm just kidding. You guys can have it.
I was worried about the same thing.
Oh, dear. Now we're fighting over candy.
Okay, now, Mr. President, Madam Vice President, members of the board, we do have some schools where we've had principal vacancies. We're continuing to work through those. We actually have a process, and so our Human Resource Division with Dr. Serrano, along with leadership, Ms. Gomez, and the Deputy Superintendent, go to a school. They ask the folks at the school what criteria they're looking for in a principal. We collect that data. There's then an interview that's, we call the first tier interview, which includes NEA, it includes CSEC, teachers from the building, community members, our own folks here. And I always say, if you can make it through Orlinda, then you can make it to me, because we ask you some curriculum questions. Second interview is with the executive cabinet, and that one doesn't get any easier. And we narrow that to the top 3, and the final is with me, since it's supposed to be my choice, but I don't believe that. I think it's a choice of all of us as a unit. And so we're slowly beginning to announce our principal appointments, and tonight I'm very pleased. I'm going to ask Shelley if you'll come forward. We're going to announce that Ms. Shelley Harris, the current interim principal at Hermosa Heights, is being named the principal of Hermosa Heights, and we couldn't be more proud of you. And so we'd like for you to shake the board members' hands, and I just want to say congratulations.
Congratulations.
Well deserved. Well deserved.
Mr. President, Madam Vice President, and members of the board, and to the members of our audience, in our schools where we have remaining openings, we will make it to the schools before the last day of school, and we will begin introducing principals to their new faculty, and we'll also, if they're coming from within the system, announce to the faculty where they will be leaving. And so, Dr. Serrano, we have a rule: no one may offer a position unless they go through Dr. Serrano first, and he'll be coordinating that with Ms. Gomez. And so as we go through the next week and a half, we'll begin making those announcements. And then on June 3rd, I'll bring all of those back for a public announcement here at the board. And now, Mr. President, one more item. I just want to recognize Chris Bolzano in the audience. Chris, would you stand? Chris is our lobbyist in Santa Fe. And so, Gail left. But some of the teachers who were here, I want you to reach out to Chris and have conversations with him, especially about the teacher evaluation instrument and about funding, so that he can help us as we transition from one administration to the next. and we are committed. Chris works very hard for us. I always say to him, he earns his money probably in the first month with what he sends for us. And we did send Dr. Lozano last year to the session and kept him up there every day so we would know exactly what's going on. And I'm going to say to the executive cabinet, all in favor of sending Dr. Lozano again? I think by unanimous decree, you can break the news to your wife. But we did that because we feel that's important. If those individuals have say over our funding and have say over our evaluation instrument, then we want to have individuals there to have those conversations. So Chris, thank you. And then Ms. Irma brought up, so Ms. Patterson, President Patterson, again, would you just stand and let us recognize you? I do talk to President Patterson. She has my number, I have hers. And it's been a while, but welcome to Las Cruces. And I'm guessing you're here for the LESC tomorrow. Will you be with us?
I was actually here for community schools, but if I'd known I was going to cry through the whole board meeting, I probably wouldn't have come.
Well, welcome. And I'm again going to just reach out to you and say when your tenure is up, you have a home to return to, and it would be an honor for us to welcome you back. And now, Mr. President, I'm going to turn over my time to you. I think we go to the student advisor.
Yes. So, Dominic, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, you are on.
Mr. President, members of the board, and Dr. Ewing, my name is Dominic Briscoe. I'm a sophomore at Arrowhead Park Early College High School, and tonight I'm also the representative for the Student Advisory Council. Tonight at our meeting, we had a wonderful presentation on education in the workforce by the Bridge of Southern New Mexico. We also worked with our bylaws committee to ratify our bylaws, which will be presented at the June board meeting. In addition to that, our communication committee worked on our presentation for the end of the school year, which will also be presented at the next board meeting. I also have some school highlights here for the past month. At Las Cruces High School, they said it already, but softball won state, and certain people received bilingual seals. They don't tell me who. Let's see. The students at Mayfield High School would like to thank Dr. Armijo for being one of the most outstanding and influential teachers in Mayfield High School. Centennial High School, their media film, I think that says Shark on Repeat, won Best in Festival at the Desert Light Film Fest, and 2 students obtained full ride scholarships to UNM. And at Oñate, recently they elected new student body and NHS officers.
This is impressive. Maybe we need to bring some of them in next month for some recognition for these achievements.
Karen, can you, if you'll get with Dominic, and then we'll be happy to invite them for recognition.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dominic.
Okay, and now we're going to go on to our Human Resources Development Report from Dr. Serrano.
Mr. President, members of the board, Mr. Superintendent, I'm here to present the employee reports since the last board meeting. In the area of certified, we had 4 employment offers, 20 resignations, and 15 retirements. And in the area of classified, we had no employment offers since the last board meeting, 18 resignations and 5 retirements. And in the theme of teachers, tonight, a couple of my quotes are actually in appreciation of teachers. This last couple of weeks, maybe month, it's been very inspirational. I know most of the board members, Dr. Ewing and I, attended the Las Cruces High School football Teacher Appreciation Pass It Forward celebration. And it was inspirational. I know I got teary-eyed, Dr. Ewing, everybody. Just hearing the students talk about their teachers, and the teachers how important they felt, and then getting appreciated by the students. A lot of them, one student, the last one, was recognizing a teacher going back to when he was in 2nd grade, and he's an 11th grader going to be a senior. And just how emotional they got, how inspirational it was to listen to the kids, and then the teachers knowing that what they do makes an impact in their lives. And to me, and obviously taking my kids it was just a great night for me to be there, to listen to those presentations. And then it was the common theme from the students. Every student said that the teachers not just motivated them in the classroom, but they always had an impact and always asked about their lives and got involved in their lives. And I think that was a common theme, and I think obviously our LCPS teachers, all of them here in our district do that. So I want to thank our teachers for that. We also had the National Teacher Appreciation Week last week. And obviously last night and tonight, we had our banquet last night. It was a terrific banquet, and tonight, we appreciated our teachers as well. So thank you for all you do. So I have a quote. One of them is from a 6-year-old. So this is a quote, and then the other one I'll give you in a minute. But my teacher thought that I was smarter than I was, so I was. Okay, and you see that quote a lot.
Yeah.
Motivating people is basically letting them know how important they are and how smart they are. And really, when you tell them, I always told my faculty, we're an exemplary faculty. A lot of times you'll see me on the emails. In 3 years, we're going to be exemplary at Socorro High School. So, dear exemplary faculty, and we became exemplary. So I think when you tell people they're going to be something, they're going to become it, okay? And then the next quote is from Rita Pearson, who is one of the most, I guess, very famous motivational educators in this country. And I got a quote from her that says that every child deserves a champion, an adult who will never give up on them, who understands the power of connection and insists they become the best they can possibly be. And with that, I stand for questions tonight.
No questions, just inspiration. Thank you.
Thank you.
Board?
No, thank you for the quotes, so they're very meaningful.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and Ms. Martinez will come and speak to us about instruction. That's pretty important.
Yeah. Good evening, Mr. President, members of the board, and Mr. Superintendent. And I just want to take a side note. It just thrilled me to see so many wonderful women athletes recognized. And I just reflect back when, because I was very competitive and involved in athletics, but that was before Title IX initiated. And so now, we used to do GAA one day, all Saturday competitions, and it was grueling. But now to see them at this level is awesome. So I applaud, and a lot of math and science females lately at the awards assemblies and stuff. So you can tell I'm a pro-woman kind of math science person. So, and I thank the teachers, to make those dreams come true for our kids. Just as a side note,
So, Mr. President, if I may, I want to look to the Deputy Superintendent. So when they were up there, our choices are pole vaulting, the 4x4 relay, softball, or chess.
Long jump was in there too.
Or long jump. So I think I'll go with chess.
I'll partner up with you on that.
All right. So we'll let the rest of the executive cabinet.
I don't know, I'd
others.
like to see Dr. Ewing pole vaulting.
The pole would break. So I think you're right. And we did not think of that when they were here. But those ladies represented us very well.
It was just being so involved, because my daughter graduated from Mayfield, and she was 4th in state as shot and discus player. And so it just, how much we've grown just makes me very proud of the women's profession, So yay to Title IX. Okay. So tonight, moving on. Tonight we have a discussion of grades 9 through 12 health textbook adoptions for 2018. And leading that discussion will be Ms. Carrie Aguilera, who will outline the process used, and we do follow, your board policy on textbook adoptions. Okay, so Ms. Aguilera, please. Thank you.
Quick shout out, one more daughter woman. She took 6th at the high jump at state this year. Mr. President, school board members, Superintendent Dr. Ewing, good evening. I am Carrie Aguilera, coordinator of K-12 Support Services. I will be presenting the 9th through 12th grade health adoption process, and results. Purpose. From the LCPS policy IJJ textbook selection and adoption, the LCPS Board of Education is committed to providing textbooks and related materials, instructional materials, both print and electronic, that support the district curriculum and to establish responsibility and procedures for compliance with statutory and regulatory requirements. Adoption timeline. The adoption process occurred between October 2017 and April 2018. Following Las Cruces Public Schools regulation, IJJR textbook selection, adoption, and use, the materials shall be selected in the quantity and quality deemed appropriate by the professional staff and consistent with the financial resources of the district. October, November 2017, a textbook instructional material review team, TMR, was designated, and the team developed a rubric that mirrors the New Mexico Public Education Department adoption review rubric and evaluated all New Mexico PED approved materials under consideration. The material review team selected 2 choices from a total of 5 that included 5 electronic version availability for further review by the instructional staff in all high schools. Instructional materials selected for use in the Las Cruces Public Schools shall reflect the cultural and linguistic diversity of the community. November, December 2017. A textbook instructional materials selection committee, TSC, recommended by principals, utilized the material review team's developed rubric to evaluate materials. The material review team and selection committees included 18 members ranging from teachers, department heads, instructional content specialists, and administrative positions. The committee members attended presentations by the publishers. January 2018. The textbook selection committee members presented the information to the instructional staff at each of the high schools. During January and February, the time that the textbooks were available for review on each campus, the principal notified parents of the adoption and invited parents and community to view and comment on the materials under consideration. Materials were available for 2 months to ensure ample time for review. Parent community members, the input forms were available to fill out and submit to the selection committee members, campus representatives. LCPS advertised the District Advisory Council, the DAC meeting, and the 9th through 12th grade health textbook adoption was on the agenda. A presentation and informational session was held for parents and the community. Time was allowed for questions and answers about the adoption process. Parents, community members were informed that each campus held a full set of materials under consideration and that they were welcome to view and comment on all the materials. January, February 2018, using the rubric developed by the material review team, instructors submitted their completed rubric to textbook committee members. School sites submitted choices to the instruction department for tabulation. March, April, May 2018, district-wide results compiled and tabulated, recommendations presented to the Board of Education for review and superintendent approval. May 2018, schools are advised of adoption. The instruction department will review orders to ensure sufficient textbooks are ordered. Adoption process. The textbook selection, adoption, and use policy and regulation process was followed, and the following adoption process documents are available. Detailed timeline, meeting agendas, TMR developed rubric, committee sign-in sheets, parent community awareness, textbook review choices, district-wide participation The results and the recommended adoption. The district recommended selection are as follows. The 9th through 12th grade health textbook recommendation is Pearson Health. I do have samples available that I will leave here with you. I stand for questions.
Board members, do we have any questions?
Actually, I do.
Senora.
Thank you, President Frank. Ms. Aguilera, Spanish equivalent?
So, Maria Flores, the New Mexico PED goes through an intense summer adoption process that includes teachers in the selection process, which includes culturally diverse choices and content free of biases, and they provide their selections to the districts under their New Mexico PED adopted choices. From there, districts look and review and go through their own process, which LCPS has an intense process in policy. And we look at all of the choices. And choices were even based from intense rubric that was created by the TMR that included a selection for equity in what the text offers for bilingual, for English language learners, and special education resources available. The choice that was selected includes online resources that include reading and note-taking guides in English and Spanish.
Okay, but the book is not in Spanish at all.
Correct. The textbook is not available in Spanish.
They never are. Okay.
There are audio selection summaries in English and Spanish, and also video viewing guides in Spanish workbooks.
Okay. The only situation is that if students are sent to do this at home, and if they don't have what do you call it, wireless, then they're not able to do it except at school. So I realize that's all they have to offer, but it is a consistent problem.
Now, the schools do have the option to purchase books that best meet their student needs. This is just the recommendation for a district-wide adoption, but schools can definitely purchase.
Okay. I have a second question. I sit on the Teen Pregnancy Prevention Work Group, so obviously comprehensive sex education. Does it have a comprehensive sex education in the book?
We have the health textbook and included in there. Now, there are supplemental health, the sex education portion available in the supplemental materials that can be reviewed and looked at.
Is it in the book?
There are appropriate parts in here, yes.
Okay. I would like to borrow the books.
Yes.
Okay.
President,
Yes.
I do
Thank
have
you.
some questions. So did our teachers, our district teachers, participate in reviewing the materials?
Yes, ma'am. From each of the high schools, teachers were recommended by the school principals.
Teachers in the bilingual department?
The teachers there were mainly health instructors. There may
No
have,
Spanish speakers?
I
teachers?
am not aware if there were Spanish speakers or not.
And I'm just wondering if maybe Dr. Hahn or Dr. Lozano had a chance to review the text? Because, and I know that you talked about, how it was presented to the community and all of that, but I wasn't even aware of it. I would have liked to have seen the materials before actually adopting or making a decision on it. And I know it wasn't, the board isn't even taken into account here, but we want to be more active in looking at the materials that are being adopted.
Right. Through the LCPS policy for adoption and textbook adoption, it follows a specific process, and that
we might need
we
to
may
change
need
that.
to look at that.
Yeah, exactly. So I know that one of the things that we had discussed was making sure that before we adopted any materials that we would have a parallel in Spanish. And having the audio or the online version is not really helpful. And it can be helpful, but a lot of these kiddos need a book.
Now, we do have the health instructors that are familiar with the health standards, and they actually teach the content. We're very much involved in this, and they do have areas of differentiated instruction for not only just Spanish speakers, but other English language learner students and special education, et cetera.
Yeah.
But we, as a district, we go off of the New Mexico Pet Adopted List first,
Right.
and we get to go from that process. So hopefully in the future, there will be more publishers that actually submit to the New Mexico PED for their adoption before we can actually look at it.
Well, my only concern is that if we keep adopting these materials without the supplement, or not the supplement, but without the parallel, they're going to continue not making the Spanish component to it. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, because I was a bilingual teacher, and I know how this works. For 17 years, everybody told us the Spanish component is coming, and it never would. So I'm just putting it out there.
I know Dr. Ewing wants to speak on this, but I just want to make one comment first, which is, I mean, it's not convenient, but I know teachers make up for deficiencies in textbooks. You know, if it's not doing the job, then you find the proper materials that will get the job done. So, and also textbook adoption is not subject to board approval. I mean, so it's just being presented to us, you know, for informational purposes only. So, Dr. Ewing?
So, Mr. President, Madam Vice President, members of the board, I'll just look to staff. So, I think we're hearing some comments from the board. So, I'm looking at Dr. Wendy and Arlinda. First, Carrie, thank you. I mean, a beautiful job with the process and a beautiful presentation. I think what we're hearing, and when we see this, make sure that we're including bilingual teachers regardless of what the subject area is. Make sure we either have Dr. Lozano or Dr. Hahn back there involved as well. And then we probably need to start saying to the publishers, if you have a Spanish preference, or if you have a Spanish version, you're going to move up on the list. So you're going to have to work with Will. I don't know if he's back there, but we'll put that in our rubric of how we evaluate. And then I'm going to look to Chris Bolzano and Betty, President Betty back there. As you're in Santa Fe, if you can begin to have conversations with the folks at PED to tell them as they are approving books, we certainly would like to see some Spanish versions, porque se habla español aquí. And so our students who can't speak English need that opportunity. And so we're hearing you, and this is the second time we've been in front of you. And this is the second time that we're giving you the same song and dance of, we have the book in English and we have online versions in Spanish. So we will take this seriously. And if there are future versions in Spanish, I think we should look at those publishers very carefully and ask the teachers if they can teach out of that version, even if it's not the preferred version in English, simply because our students need it. And lastly, Carrie, I'm going to ask you, can you survey the high school principals and find out how many of them need versions of something in Spanish?
Yes, sir.
And before we cut the POs, if a school needs 300 books and they tell you they need 50 in Spanish, then only order 250 in English. And then let's find an alternative in Spanish. Teachers are remarkable. They can teach out of 2 or 3 textbooks when they have to. And it may be that they're going to look at a version in English, and then for those kids who can read in Spanish better, because this is health, and there is a possibility of pregnancy or other issues, and we want to make sure they understand all of these items. And so we'll work on this, and I think if you'll do a survey, that'll give us an idea.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Mr. Castro.
Yeah, Mr. Frank, one of my deep concerns is that nationwide there's a need to improve civics and citizenship and critical thinking skills. And is there any, is this being addressed through this process? That acknowledging that there's a need for improving critical thinking skills.
So I think, Carrie, as we're doing especially for English and social studies, and as you work with your colleagues on those adoptions. And when I give speeches, I always say I believe in spelling, I believe in civics, and I believe in the old-fashioned way of learning to write. So, yes. Mr. President, permission?
Yes, of course.
Thank you, President. President Frank, members of the board, and Superintendent Ewing. Next month, Mr. Castro, I'm going to bring forward a civic engagement committee that is a partnership between the Las Cruces Public Schools, the League of Women Voters of Greater Las Cruces, and the county clerk's office. And we've been doing a tremendous, I say we, the committee has been. Thank you, President. That sounded a lot like me.
Well, who has a hot mic on that we don't know about?
So I think you'll appreciate that presentation and the work we're doing on that side of it. And I think as we redevelop our rubrics in the textbook adoption process, I think it's a great idea to incorporate that. We kind of go by what the state uses, and we can make it our own. And just the comment, Mr. President, Mrs. Dahlman, about the Spanish versions, I think you're absolutely right. I think at the state level, we need to do more to make sure that we're putting some pressure. I know New Mexico is a small state, as far as textbook dollars, but we're not the only state in this position. And there is one of the options does have a Spanish version, and as Dr. Ewing said, we will order those for any school that wants that. Unfortunately, it's not as well aligned to the standards, but certainly it's a better option than nothing. So we will look at that and continue to work to get better options for our Spanish-speaking students.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Board members, any more questions or comments?
Thank you for your presentation.
Thank
Yes,
you.
thank you
Nice
very
job.
much.
And thank you for a year's worth of work. So thank you very much. And could you bring those up here, Mr. President, permission for us to accept the books?
Oh, sure.
And then Senora Flores is going to
She's
read
going
them
to take
first.
it home and
Yes,
be
I
responsible.
volunteer you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Read them both by the next
Here
board
we
meeting.
go. Here's one for you.
Mr. President,
Yes.
our student advisor, Dominic, he has requested if he's able to leave. His parents are here right now, and so if that's okay, if he
We
can.
have to stand up and.
Where are they?
They're
outside.
There you go.
Oh, they want you to come out to the car, yes. Okay. Mr. President, if that's okay with you.
That is okay,
And
yes.
we know
Thank you
Dominic has
for-
to study
Thank you,
Yes.
Dominic.
for tomorrow. You have homework tonight.
We
look forward to
exam tomorrow.
Oh, all right. Which subject?
English.
All right, good luck. You're going to do fine.
Thank you.
Thank you for attending tonight and making important contributions.
Good night.
Thanks. Good night.
Okay, I think we're moving on to finance, which is always a favorite part of the meeting.
Conundrum.
Mr. President, members of the board, Mr. Superintendent, it is, especially at 9 o'clock,
Right.
finances just wakes you up. And so the first item tonight is the monthly board report. And so kind of give you a couple of highlights on that. So the total expenditures through the end of April are about $132,322,977, around about. And so that's an increase from previous year of about, in dollars, about $1.4 million, about a 1% increase. And so we're seeing a slight increase in the expenditures from last year at this point in time, and that relates to last year we were doing a freeze in spending, and so now we're starting to see those differences between last year and this year, which were in dollars increase. And so as a percentage of the total budget, again, it's at about a 1% increase in total spending from last year to this year. And again, we are seeing that expenditure or the difference in those expenditures because of we're not freezing expenditures this year, whereas we did last year. But on those expenditures, it's pretty much divided up amongst the functions about the same as it was last year. And so in the instruction, between instruction, which is the 1,000 function, the 2,100 student support services, and 2,200 instruction support services, it's about 74.5% of the expenditures. And last year it was about 74.6%. So we're seeing a similar distribution of the funds across the different functions. Even though it's an increase, the way it's being spent is similar to it has been. And so that would be consistent with that. And one thing that we're also seeing, a slight increase in salary expenditures. It's about we're starting to see an increase. It's about 200,000 over last year. Not significant, but it is a slight increase in salary expenditures. And we're also seeing a slight increase in substitutes from last year. And so right now we've increased about 42,000 in subs at this point in time, which is about a 2.4% increase in subs. And again, we're not quite through with the year, so there's still sub processing that will go through, and so there's additional payroll that goes through. And on the payroll, we also want to keep in mind that we have an unbalanced pay structure for 9-month employees, and so we usually pay out their contracts, which they'll get 4 additional payments at the end of the year. And so that's when we'll actually start seeing the real differences between the payroll from last year to this year. So right now, it's just you'll see a slight increase. The other thing I wanted to point out on the monthly board report is on our revenues. So we have experienced probably some good things in investments. And so we have a lot of our funds we'll send to the state treasurer's office, and they're receiving or they're offering a higher interest rate than some of our local banks. And so we've been pushing as much of the cash up there as we can. And so we have increased, we have about 360,000 more of revenues than we had anticipated this year. And a lot of that had to do with the increase in investment income or interest income on those investments that we hold at the state treasurer's office. So that's good. We've seen a little bit increase in the revenues there. So with that, I'll stand for any questions on the monthly board report for April.
Questions, board members? I think we're okay.
Okay. Good. The second item is the quarterly report that is submitted to PED. And so you've seen this information already in the monthly reports. And so we submit this to you as a information of what we have submitted to PED. And so one of the things I wanted to do on this was just kind of highlight a couple of things on the report instead of going back over some of the numbers that we've already discussed. And so, and Bill, I don't know if you can switch to the first page, it's the cash report, that one right there. So I just kind of want to highlight this. And so this is our cash report. And it really, it starts with the ending balance that we had in the June of the previous year. And then it kind of shows our receipts, our revenues and our expenditures and some of our payroll liabilities. And really what it ends up is you end up with a cash balance. And so at any point in time during the year, you can kind of look to see, on the quarterly reports, you can kind of see where our cash balances were by fund. And so in the first column there on the 11,000 function, you can see at the end of April, or the end of March, we were at about 35 million in cash balance. And so that's just a way to reference what our cash balance is, and then it goes by fund, and then at the last column, it'll total up by the district. And so if anybody really wanted to know what our cash balance was at any point in time, you could take a look at this and you could see what our cash balance was. And this doesn't have any indication of what our cash balance will be at the end of the year. It's just a point in time. So for reference, last year, we had 33.8 million in cash balance at the end of March, and this year we have 35. It's timing of expenditures, but I know sometimes people are wondering what our cash balance is, and this is the report that gets published that's easily determined. The other thing I wanted to point out on these quarterly reports is on, and Bill, you don't need to switch to this. It's the last, it's the expenditure report. So there's 3 reports that go into quarterly reports. There's the cash report, there's a revenue report, and then there's an expenditure report. And we provide the expenditure report that has, we try to provide the one that includes job class. One of the items that gets included on this report is an FTE column. And just wanted to make a reference to that because we don't submit FTE information for quarterly or actuals. We submit total dollars. And so the FTE column is an extra column that comes out on this report when we print it out from PED. And it isn't an indication of what our FTEs are. And so as you're looking at that report, there's a lot of incorrect information. And I have a question into PED. I think this is coming from our STARS data, which is a different way of looking at information than when we look at FTEs at, say, the end of April or the end of March. And so I went through here and I noticed a lot of inconsistencies in here, and these are not our FTE numbers that we would normally be looking at. So when you look at this report, I'm asking that you disregard that FTE column because that isn't really a true FTE reporting that we do. It's coming from PED, and I'm still asking them why it's there and where they're pulling it from. So I just kind of wanted to point that out.
That would be very interesting to hear how they come up with that number.
I think they pull it from the STARS data, which is a different way of reporting. So for example, under the job class of 1115, which is the Associate Superintendent of Finance, at the point in time this report was done, there was 0 FTEs in there. I wasn't classified in there at that point in time, yet the report shows 2. And so there's a lot of inconsistencies in here. And these are not numbers that we're reporting. It's the dollars on this report that we need to look at.
Is this new, Mr. President?
No, it's not new, but it's come up, and I just wanted to point that out so you're aware of it and just kind of remind you that the report is focused on dollars, and the FTEs are something that on here that we don't report. They just come out on the report. So it's not new. It's been that way for a long time.
So Mr. President, but my question is, why are we asking now if it's not new? I mean,
I'm just pointing it out, and it's kind of a reminder, just highlighting the fact. So if you review the report and you're wondering on the FTEs, that.
But we're asking PED right now for an explanation on this, correct? But if it's not new, why didn't we ask for an explanation last year or the year before or the year before that?
Well, I'm confirming with them. I think it comes from the STARS data, and so I didn't ask the question a couple of years ago, and so at this point in time, it being in this position,
it would be the same. I mean, they're using the same.
They're using the same, right?
So they're using the same system, but we are.
I'm asking them for a confirmation on what I suspect it to be, and so the previous administration in the finance department may have already asked them that.
I get it.
And so I'm highlighting it, and I'm just confirming with them that it's coming from the STARS data.
I appreciate the answer.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
Any more questions on the third quarter report? Okay. I think, is that?
So then the next item is the Finance Advisory Committee meeting minutes. And I will stand for any questions on that. No questions?
Yeah, no questions on that.
Thank you.
They were approved at the Financial Advisory Committee meeting last Thursday.
Yes, Mr. President, they were approved, yes.
Right. And
so
the last thing.
Right, is the second reading of policy KCD, which is public gifts and donations to schools. We brought this to you at the last board meeting. We didn't have an opportunity to get feedback, and so I brought it for second reading for the opportunity for you to provide comments or feedback, and then we would bring it for approval at the next one. And so instead of bringing it for approval tonight, I thought we would just bring it as a second reading and then allow you the opportunity to comment on it.
That sounds good.
And so so that's there, and we've submitted, the first one had the differences. This one has in the packet, it has the policy as it would be going forward. And so if there's any comments or questions or things that you would like to change or have us go back and look at, I'd be more than happy to do that.
And if we have any of those, should we send them to you directly?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and this is I'm standing in for Dr. Sanchez on this, and so we would be happy to incorporate any of those. And I know that he worked with our council on that, and this is the policy based on the language that was appropriate, and it coincides with our current regulation, which there were some differences between the regulation and the policy, and so I think this trued that up. And so definitely you can send any of those to me, and we would do that. Otherwise, we'll bring it to the next board meeting for approval.
Okay, that sounds like a plan.
Okay.
Okay, any more questions or comments? Okay, thank you, Mr. Ellison. And Mr. Hawkes anticipates being up here before I even called him. Thank you.
Yes, sir, Mr. President, members of the board, and Mr. Superintendent. I did, and I was kind of disappointed I didn't get to always exciting for operations comment, but I know that it's been a long evening, and so I'm jumping to my first item here that I have before you today is discussion and approval for the superintendent to negotiate the lease of a property located at 400 West Bell Street here in Las Cruces, New Mexico. There's been an inquiry of interest in leasing this property at 400 West Bell Street, and this would allow the superintendent to engage in discussion and take action as needed. So with that, I stand for questions or open discussion if you wish.
I actually looked it up on Google Maps and then realized where it was.
Any comments or questions? So are we ready to entertain a motion? Okay, so I will entertain a motion to grant approval to the superintendent to negotiate the lease of the property located at 400 West Bell Street, Las Cruces, New Mexico, 88005.
So moved.
Second?
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, this motion passes. Okay.
Mr. President, members of the board, Mr. Superintendent, my second item, I'd like to invite Ms. Mary Parsanchez and David Greenberg up. Our next item is the Community Schools Joint Powers Agreement. We brought it last work session for as a review item, and now we're bringing it forth as a discussion item and possible action item if you all wish this evening. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Ms. Mary Parsanchez. She has, I believe, some comments and an introduction.
Thanks, Gabe. Thank you, Gabe. Mr. President, members of the board, Dr. Ewing, we believe that tonight is a milestone in our district's community schools implementation. If you are to pass this joint powers agreement, that is. So the movement has grown out of leadership in our district, but also grassroots sectors of our community, and namely that is our teachers, our parents and students, our nonprofit organizations, and health sector, our chambers of commerce, and our civic leaders. These groups were united around a set of values that include caring for the whole child, addressing health and well-being, sharing space and better utilizing resources, deeply engaging the voices of families and community stakeholders, and supporting the success of all of our students. The Joint Powers Agreement you have in front of you provides a forum to actualize these values through the community school model. The essence of the agreement is the creation of a formal yet flexible partnership, the Las Cruces Partnership for Community Schools. This partnership will be driven by a leadership structure that is representative of our school district, but also of the diversity of partners that have been supporting our community schools work. So we began exploring the community schools model in 2016 when the school board supported a resolution and passed a resolution in April of 2016. In January of 2017, Las Cruces Public Schools and Partners launched the district's first community school transformation at Lynn Middle School. Since then, Lynn has engaged over 1,000 stakeholders in a deep community assessment. Lynn has added over 20 hours of extracurricular activity to the instructional week, provided over 1,500 meals to hungry students in the evenings, and provided 700 baskets of food to neighbors in need through its monthly food bank. Students have taken on a number of community service projects, and Lynn has hosted a number of family and neighborhood engagement events. Lynn has hired the first community school administrator position in the district and is already starting to see disciplinary incidents at the school decrease. There is clearly much work ahead of the Lynn Community School process, but a foundation now exists for Lynn to realize the vision of its stakeholders. The work at Lynn and in our district would not be possible without a host of partners. One notable partner that we'd like to recognize tonight is the Center for Great Public Schools at the National Education Association. NEA National has been a significant partner in our community schools work. NEA President Lily Eskelsen Garcia flew out for the launch of the community school transformation at Lynn, and the Center for Great Public Schools awarded the district a 3-year grant to build capacity for its community schools work. Representing the Center for Great Public Schools in the audience tonight is NEA's Senior Program Specialist with the Center for Great Public Schools, Dr. Christopher Johnson.
If you would stand.
So we want to thank him and also our NEA New Mexico State President, Betty Patterson, for their support of this work that we've done in our district. So thank you, Betty. In November of 2017, the City of Las Cruces passed a resolution supporting community schools and endorsing the idea of entering into a formal partnership with the school district and other partners to provide needed structure to support, evaluate, and eventually to expand the community school model. After months of work on behalf of district administrators and our legal team, working collaboratively with the City of Las Cruces, we are happy to present for approval the Community Schools Joint Powers Agreement with the City of Las Cruces. Thank you. One other thing I would add is when Dave and I attended the National Community Schools Forum in Baltimore and took some of our folks, Dr. Roberto Lozano, and some of the educators that were here this evening. And so this is a partnership between city and school district that we're seeing, but we're right up there with the movers and the shakers. So people are not super far ahead of us. So there isn't an exact roadmap, but it would be a bold and wonderful move. Thank you.
I think it's extraordinary that we have come so far in such a short time. I mean, as you said, it was only 2016 when the resolution came before the school board, and that was not very long ago. And look where we are. We're not, there yet, but we're certainly moving, and it's encouraging. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions, comments?
No, just thank you. And you guys are pioneers.
You all are pioneers as well. Thank you.
I just want to say to our national, tell me again, Mary, his name, Dr.?
Dr. Christopher Johnson.
Dr. Johnson, first, thank you for coming. And then to President Patterson, I assure you that Mary is working 24/7. And I assure you she has been doing nothing but staying on this project. So your, what do I want to say, your allowing her to work with us has definitely paid off. So thank you for that. And we look forward to continuing to work with you, not only to make that school even better, but to look at our next school. And so I just want you to know that the collaboration is there, and she is working sometimes more days than I want her to. But she is working on this project 24/7. So it's a big commitment.
Board, any more questions?
Would
I'm
he
going
like to come up?
Excuse me.
Dr. Johnson, do you want to speak to us?
Yes.
Yes, sir. If we can have you on the record if you come to the microphone. Mr. President, permission?
Of course.
Dr. Johnson, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the school board, and Superintendent. I met you last year. I think we was able to break bread. The only thing I wanted to say is that y'all are doing outstanding work. As the grant administrator for 30 grants in my portfolio, what Mary, Dave, I met with them last year when I met you.
Yes, sir.
It's actually a little less than a year ago. I recommended to these wonderful folks, y'all should think about the Community Schools Forum, which is a national network that just met in Baltimore. Not only, I mentioned it to them, not only did they apply, but what I wanted to stand and say is, Mary and David did not attend, they presented. They presented to a standing room only audience, for which I was there, and I was in awe. I go around the country and I look at all of my grantees. But when I come here, I have no doubt Mary is living and breathing this because she is the Energizer Bunny. She has on these nice little shoes today, but earlier she had on tennis shoes. That's right. And she was running around Lynn, and I was tired. I had to go back to my room.
Welcome to my world every day. Give her your cell phone number and a key to your office and see what happens. She doesn't stop.
So I had, that's what I wanted to say, that she's not doing herself, David, and of course Betty, she's not doing herself justice. When you're talking about, it had to be, the convention center in Baltimore was full. Her session was completely full, standing room only, and she provided hands-on information for folks coming behind her. So when she say that they're up there, yes, you're up there. So I'm very proud, and on behalf of our president, Lily Eccleston Garcia, Andy Coons, who is the director, senior director for the Center for Great Public Schools. They are shining stars, but we're looking forward to what I saw today at Lynn. Those students were engaged. You couldn't tell that was a student as I looked at some of the data, what the state says. Very similar to what the educators said from Crossroads. It doesn't matter what the state says. What I saw today as a national person was engagement, teachers engaged, and the way you had the whole community there. I don't mean to be long-winded. I've never seen anything like that, and I've been a school administrator. The teachers were not teaching. These were community members in all of the classrooms, things outside, teachers getting dunked. It was unbelievable. And Ms. Dahlman, I'm going to use your quote in part of my remarks. I do a report when I come out. They are pioneers. And I hope you don't mind me quoting you.
No, not at all.
As you know, my director and everyone always asks when we come out. But I'm a thought partner, just so that y'all know, we talked today. David has me on speed dial, but y'all are doing great things, and I already told Mary, and I'm telling you, I know she keeps you up, but I am going to ask that she works with other folks coming behind her. And so you will be getting visits from other districts, because that's my work, to make sure I coach up and make sure folks know great things that are going on, and that's what's happening in this city.
We welcome them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
That's it.
So I think I'm going to entertain a motion to approve the Community Schools Joint Powers Agreement. We have, okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, this passes. Okay.
Thank you for that.
Alrighty, if I may, super exciting. Thank you so much for that. That was a historic moment. We have such an amazing team that just magnifies every team member in our district. So thank you so much. So my next item, agenda item, is lunch price increase. And just to briefly go through this, we're requesting a 5-cent increase for school lunches. So there's a formula that's included in your packet, and it's required by our federal guidelines that we take our average price and we adjust the amount, and we have to stay within a ratio every year. And so this keeps us kind of on the lower end of that ratio, but keeps us in compliance with federal guidelines and standards in order for us to get federal reimbursement for our school lunch program. So with that, I would stand for any questions, and if you have any, I would also invite my food service team if we have questions.
Any board members, any questions?
No questions.
Okay, let's do the motion. I will entertain a motion on the next page. to approve the lunch price increase.
I so move.
Second?
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, this motion passes.
Thank you very much.
We move on to our next.
Mr. President, members of the board, Mr. Superintendent, my next agenda item is discussion and action regarding existing leases of land parcels located at Mayfield High School and Vista Middle School, including possible termination of leases and discontinuation of a practice. So just for some information from the executive summary, we have a couple of leases that we have mobile homes on our school campuses. One is Mayfield High School, and that is a privately owned mobile home, and then one at Vista Middle School, which is I believe owned by the district, but is upkept by the individuals that are leasing that mobile home at this time. So this item is to open up discussion and would allow the superintendent to engage in that discussion and take action as needed by the board, such as reviewing leases, looking at our purpose and practices, and our security in our schools. So,
Mr. President, if I may, I'm going to apologize to the board. We were thinking both of these were the same situation. So hearing the security officer speak earlier, I'm going to request that we table this item and give staff more time to do some research. I certainly want to talk to the security officer to ascertain what his duties are in exchange for that mobile home there. And we will come back in June if that so meets with the approval of the board.
I think that sounds like a good plan, yes.
President
Senora.
Frank, I would like more information than I think we're able to have tonight, because I've never heard of this before, and I've been on the board now for 10 years, so I need a little history lesson on this, okay? So
absolutely.
I appreciate that.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. President, would you entertain a motion to table this? Do we need a motion to table it?
That would be my recommendation.
Okay,
Yeah,
so is there, is there a motion to table?
I would like to make a motion that we table this.
And we have a second.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, it has been moved and seconded, and all those in favor of tabling?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, it is now tabled and will be presented at a future school board meeting.
Mm-hmm.
All righty, Mr. President, members of the board, and Mr. Superintendent, we will reach out to those individuals, gather information, and bring that to Dr.
Thank
Ewing
you.
for y'all for discussion. My last item this evening that I have is renaming of Las Cruces High School baseball field to the David Graham baseball field. And with that, I'd like to ask Mr. Gil Padilla and Mike Montoya to please come up. They have a presentation for us with some information.
President Frank, members of the board, Superintendent Ewing, as you all know, last month, I believe I came to you letting you know that we were going to start the process of visiting with people, getting the committee going to name the field the Dave Graham field, the baseball practice field. Mr. Padilla and his committee has put together, they've got some signatures, so I'll let Gil explain what they did, and then we'll go from there.
Thank you, President Frank, members of the school board, Superintendent Dr. Ewing. Thank you for listening to this agenda item. I just want to talk a little bit about the process of what has taken place, and it's not just within the last month when I was here, when it was first introduced, but it's been probably a couple of years now. The process idea is, it all started with a longtime Las Cruces High baseball assistant coach, who is now currently the head football coach at Las Cruces High, Mark Lopez. He approached me with the idea of kind of renaming the practice field to the Dave Graham practice field. I was very much in support of that. Coach Lopez and myself kind of got our coaching staff, approached several coaches within the Las Cruces High School community to get their thoughts in naming this practice field. The support for the idea was overwhelming, positive, to renaming this field. After we approached our coaches at Las Cruces High School, we brought it to the attention of our administrators at that time, which was Mr. Handy and Mr. Campos, and they were also very much in support of that. To complete the process, the naming of our field to Dave Graham, we took petitions out into the community and were met with very positive feedback. A little bit about history about Mr. Dave Graham. Coach Dave Graham's teaching career spans over 5 decades. He began in 1961 at Lynn Junior High School, where he taught physical education, coached football, basketball, and track. In 1963, he moved to Las Cruces High School, where he was an assistant basketball coach, an assistant baseball coach, under Hall of Fame coaches of Lou Henson and Jim Bradley. In 1965, he became the head baseball coach at Cruces High, where he remained there for 27 years. He retired from coaching in 1992, retired from teaching in 1994. He would, though, continue to help Las Cruces High School, assisting as an assistant golf coach following his years of retirement. In his 27 years of head baseball coach, Coach Graham has won over 600 games, was inducted into the New Mexico High School Coaches Association Hall of Honor in 2002. He was also inducted into the New Mexico Baseball Coaches Association Hall of Fame in 2010. Coach Graham definitely meets the criteria of a local legend. It is through his dedication, his love of sports, that has brought him the respect and love of many. Although Coach Graham is currently in failing health, he is still one of the biggest Bulldog supporters. He can be found at multitude games and events. Coach Graham was at every home game until 2018, when his ill started to take a toll. To this day, when his health allows, Coach Graham will stop by the school, talk to the coaches, or call to see how the dogs are doing. Coach Graham has also left the lineage of former current coaches and who either student taught under him or coached with him. These coaches are included but not limited to Coach Jim Miller, Coach Paul Gonzalez, who was up here earlier, Coach Mark Lopez, Coach Tim Bravo. Las Cruces High School baseball boosters, along with the help of Las Cruces football boosters, have agreed to secure funding for the signage to honor Coach Graham at our field. We appreciate your approval to name our practice facility after one of the great teachers, coaches, mentors, and friends to come through Las Cruces High School, Dave Graham. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Board members, any questions? Comments? Okay. Are we ready to vote? Are you?
Yes, sir. We ask at this time if you all, the board would.
I don't want to cut anything
consider
short.
that.
I will entertain a motion to approve the renaming of Las Cruces High School baseball field to the Dave Graham Baseball Field.
I so move.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion is moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, this motion has passed.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Hawkes. We have no technology and research report, but we are going to hear from Dr. Lozano about equity, innovation, and social justice.
President Frank, members of the board, and Mr. Superintendent. I come before you today to present an action item. Actually, it's our annual bilingual applications. This is a process that we go through every year. So with that, I'm going to invite Dr. Han to come up here and join me.
She's already
Oh, she's here. Head of the game. It's late. And she's going to go over the reason we do bilingual applications, and I really want to emphasize as this is preliminary. So I think I spoke to you about this last summer in a presentation regarding how we get bilingual funds. Basically, it's a really extensive process that we go through each year. But right now, the bilingual applications are what schools are anticipating to do for the next school year, a commitment from them, but always we do have changes due to sometimes lack of staff, or we have more students that are needing bilingual services, so we increase the services that are provided at each school. With that, here's Dr. Han.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the board, and Mr. Superintendent. I am pleased to announce that we have added 3 more dual language programs to our schools in Las Cruces Public Schools. So we have added 2 dual language programs in our middle schools, one at Camino Real and one at Mesa Middle School, and we've also added a dual language program at Monte Vista Elementary School, and we really need to acknowledge the principals of those schools for making it happen. So at Mesa, Mr. Rodriguez, at Camino, Mr. Ramos, and at Monte Vista, Mr. Acosta. So each school has submitted a bilingual application plan, and so as of today, we have 7 elementary schools who have submitted a plan which indicates a maintenance program, 6 middle schools that also have a maintenance program, and 4 high schools which have a maintenance program. We have 19 dual language programs in elementary school, 2 now in middle school, and 1 in high school, which is Centennial. We fully plan to have our applications approved because we have reviewed them to make sure that professional development activities have been indicated, to make sure that our English learners and all of our students in our bilingual programs are making sufficient progress, not just in English, but also in all academic content areas, regardless of which language of the instruction is placed in. So with that, I stand for questions.
Any questions?
I just have
Yes.
a comment.
Senora.
President Frank, Ms. Hahn, congratulations on the addition of programs. I'm very happy to see that they're going into the middle schools, and I'm very excited about Centennial High School being on board. So thank you for that.
This is good. So I'm going to entertain a motion to approve the 2018-19 bilingual application.
So move.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, this motion passes. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Lozano. It appears that we have no new business for the board, but we do have some old business. So we are going to have a discussion and possible approval of the 2018-2019 Board of Education meeting schedule and Open Meetings Act notice for 2018-2019. So we have a bunch of alternatives that we need to discuss and look at. This is in relation to when we will meet next year, and this has to get done tonight. We have to make a decision. So, does anybody want to begin this discussion?
Okay.
Could you scroll up just a little bit so that we could see the other options? I think it's option C that I want. Yeah.
Shall we vote on them one at a time, President Frank?
Actually, I'd like to make a motion
Okay.
that we do the one that has 3 months where we only meet once a month.
That would be option C, I think, right?
Okay, is that option C? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so during the months of November, December, and March, we would only have one school board meeting in those months. The reason is, traditionally during those months, we have consecutive meetings because of holidays. And it's like very quick to have, a meeting one week and then another meeting the next week. So it makes a lot of sense during those particularly busy times to consolidate. So I am going to make a motion that that's the one that we adopt.
Okay.
And I guess I'm looking for a second.
I will second it.
Okay.
And excuse me for laughing, but I put no by everything except that one, so he guessed the right one.
Yeah, I had one chance in 4.
You did well.
I think Mrs. Flores has had a hard time since yesterday.
I have. I'm overworked and underpaid.
Before we vote on this, though, I think we
Talk
should.
to Ed, he has no money.
Well, maybe people have questions or. comments?
I don't have, I see the benefits of doing this, definitely see it. My only concern, and I think that I will, I will be voting on it here in just a second, but, my only concern would be just consistency. And so, I think that, as I remember making some comments last, board meeting and now this, if the consistency can come from this happening over and over again, and I can see that this could be the consistency that I would need. So I've kind of reevaluated my thoughts a little bit.
Well, thank you for sharing that. So I am going to entertain a motion to approve option C, okay, the 2018-2019 Board of Education meeting schedule and Open Meetings Act notice for 2018-2019.
So moved.
Second?
Actually, we've already have it moved
And second.
Yeah.
and seconded.
So we just
Senora
need a
Flores
vote.
second.
Yes, so I think we have that noted. And all those in favor of that?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
I'm gonna vote for it.
This has passed unanimously.
Yay.
And now we will
Thank you,
move.
Mr. Jaramillo.
Yes, I was struggling, but
We're still on a 5-0 vote here.
We have a streak.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you to the members of the board. This was the administration's suggestion. So thank you for taking a chance on us, and I promise you that we will not keep you here until 9:30 on those days when we start at 3 o'clock.
we'll just start at 12 o'clock.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's all he's gonna do, he's just gonna slide it down, yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
So at this point, we're going to hear some board member reports. We've all been incredibly busy in the past month, and I'm sure all the board members are eager to report on all of the amazing things that they've experienced recently. So, Mr. Jaramillo, how about if we begin with you?
You bet. Thank you. I go to a lot of events and weddings and things like that, and it always starts off as a big, giant group. It's very similar to the way ours did, and you end up with the people, you end up with family.
loyal.
You end up with family.
That's right.
At the end that never leave. They always kind of linger there and that sort of stuff. So these people right here are definitely the family members that are here with us, and so I just want to thank them for hanging out and with us. But I just want to start off by saying I spent a lot of time sitting out there before I had this chair here, and although I didn't have a clue about what the people up here and my colleagues did. I saw a little bit of it, but never really understood it. And until you sit on this side of the dais, you don't really understand it. So I just want to thank all of you for everything that you guys have done, and the public doesn't get to see as much as and the events that we're at and representing our school district, and not only the people back here, but the superintendent's office and the many different departments that are at all these different events to represent our district. So I just want to say, take a moment to say thank you. I had the opportunity to visit the New Mexico School Board Association, the Region 7 meeting in Capitan, along with Mr. Castro and Mr. Frank. I got there a little early, and I got to watch a baseball game for a little while as well, too. But it was an amazing. We were able to get a presentation on generations and generation gap, and understanding the difference between baby boomers and Generation X and the iGen, and it was absolutely, and Mr. Linda was with us as well. It was absolutely fascinating, and I am excited that they are able to, I believe that she will be here to do some professional development with our district.
It's scheduled.
It's scheduled. It was actually amazing, and I encourage you, if you have the opportunity to come listen to this, why we may not mesh and why it's important that we do need to understand generational gaps. My 16-year-old and my 14-year-old drive me crazy, and she kind of explained why that happened. But it was amazing, and the military was important, because they said that in a couple of years, everyone in the military is going to be that Generation X, I believe.
Millennials.
Like Millennials, that's right. So anyway, it was fascinating. I was able to go to two, not one, but two school safety meetings, including one with the the Las Cruces City Council. And I don't want to talk too much about that, but I do want to say something. I really think that the school district and those that put on the presentation from our school district did a fascinating job. We came prepared. You came prepared. You came to talk about what needed to be talked about. And I thought that the presentation that our district and the people that put that together, Mr. Gregory, I don't know if you're around here still, did a fascinating job. And I believe that we really came to talk about school safety, and it showed. And I just want to thank the people that put that on there. I was proud to sit up there and represent our district, especially in that meeting. I also, Senora Flores and I sit on the Doña County Community Advisory meeting. I didn't realize how important those meetings are. Not very many people from the public go on there, but we are talking about some really important things. Obviously budget, things like the logo was mentioned, but really dual credit stuff that's happening. And I spend that whole year just trying to sponge get a lot of information. But Senora Flores, I just want to give her credit. She knows a tremendous amount and asks wonderful questions in there, and really represents our district and the dual credit options that are happening at the Doña Ana Community College. And we had some really important votes that night, and Mr. Castro was there to help us with that. So I want to thank him. I visited a few other things, and I got to experience some really, really cool things like the Centennial High School robing ceremony. It was amazing. If you have ever opportunity to see that, check that out. Mayfield High School award ceremony. And I was teasing a lot of people because that ceremony was, I think, longer than 2 graduations, I think. But, you know, I joked with them about that. But the tradition that's there, it's really, I wasn't, you know, I didn't go to high school here, but the tradition that was there, you know, it made up for me being there for 4 or 5 hours, I don't remember, because it really truly was amazing to see. And also this morning I was at the Centennial High School to see their awards and their migration. I had never seen that as well, and for the seniors to walk out and the juniors to sit where the seniors were, and all the way around, it was just amazing. The stuff that's happening with restorable justice, we went to, Mr. Frank and I went to some meetings as well. And so I just want to, say that there's a lot of great things that are happening in our district. One thing I want to say that I wasn't prepared to say up until I was listening to many public comment is that I hear you. We hear you. And my goal when I ran for school board and here is to be a voice for teachers and to be a voice for children. And I just want to tell those people that spoke earlier that we hear you. And, I want to thank the teachers, especially those third graders, 3rd through the 11th graders that just went through some park testing. And I just want to let them know that, it's things that we have to do right now. But I will continue to be an advocate for eliminating that test, that we will not get data back until next school year that is actually worthless to our staff and our children. And really, the gentleman talked about authentic assessment. We really need to get back to authentic assessment. But I want to thank the teachers and the students that went through this process, because it's something that we have to do. But I will continue to advocate and make sure that we are heard, and that we are really looking at a whole child and making sure that we do that authentically. The last thing I want to say before I move on is that many, many years ago when I was in high school, I lost a friend during seniors graduation week. And I just want to say, if any teachers are out there, if anybody is watching us, it's going to be a wonderful, wonderful week for all those seniors 2018. And I just want to make sure that everyone that graduates and everyone that is celebrating during this week is doing so responsibly. And I want to make sure that every one of those high school graduates continue on with their future and not let a dumb decision change their lives and change the lives of their family or whatever. So I beg and I really hope that parents, teachers, anybody that has a child that's going to be graduating or going to be attending some graduation parties this next week, to make sure that they just mention that for one time, and maybe we can make sure that we do not have any casualties based on stupid decisions, and celebrating that. So with that, I just want to say thank you for giving me the opportunity. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
I'll try to go fast. The family of, on April 29th, the family of Jose M. Serna sponsored the first annual Teacher Impact Award ceremony, which we talked about earlier. This is a ceremony in which the Las Cruces football students honor teachers that have impacted their lives during their academic years. There is no greater honor than to be recognized by your own students. Thank you to the Serna family and Coach Mark Lopez for initiating and sponsoring this ceremony. On May 9th, Dr. Lozano, Senora Flores, and I attended the Las Cruces High School Senior Award Ceremony. Every time I attend an award ceremony, it never ceases to amaze me how accomplished and well-developed our students are. May 10th, Senora Flores and I traveled to El Paso to visit their community schools. We toured Hart Elementary and Guillen Middle School. Unfortunately, we weren't able to tour Bowie High School. We had a long visit with Mr. Simon Chandler, who explained the community school strengths, challenges, and strategies they are currently implementing. Mr. Chandler was kind enough to share their community school literature. He, along with EPISD board members, are interested in visiting and touring our community school in the fall. I look forward to possibly working together, building an alliance, and networking with our neighbors. May 11th, I attended my grandson's first grade end of the year presentation at Desert Hills. They performed an animal and insect biome presentation. Their costumes coordinated with their chosen biome, and of course they sang and danced about it because that's how we learn best. Thank you to their teachers and parents for all their hard work. I know it takes a lot of dedication to see productions like these through. Then I, along with President Frank, Mrs. Frank, Mr. Castro, and Dr. Hahn, attended the Las Cruces Best Buddies and Centennial High kickball event. We had so much fun, but I was especially glad that it was held indoors this year. My husband and I attended the production of Hunchback of Notre Dame at Oñate High School. The students were amazing. What talent we have right here in our own town. Thank you to Ms. Sherry Alon for her dedication and commitment to our students and to the performing arts. On May 14th, we attended the Celebration of Excellence in Education Award Dinner, honoring our students, scholars, Teacher of the Year, Support Staff of the Year, and National Board Certified Teachers. It was a good time. And finally, but certainly not least, I want to extend my deepest condolences to the family of Bertha Arrieta Telles, and also my deepest condolences to her school family and students. She served our community as a third grade teacher at University Elementary, and she will be deeply missed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I attended that regional meeting and where we looked at the different generations, the difference between Generation X and the millennials and the baby boomers. And what really upsets me about that is a person my age, we don't even have a name.
He was off the chart.
I'm not even a baby boomer. What are we? But, you know, and well, I'm not a boomer.
He was off the chart when they didn't have it up there, so it was.
Okay. Well, thank you. It's good that I want to be something.
Madman. Yeah. You were a madman.
So, you know, I went to that kickball game, and that was just a very emotional event. Watching the kids, you know, do their best and compete for the just pure joy of doing it. And the Teacher Impact Awards were, you know, also incredibly moving. I agree. The greatest recognition any teacher can get is to be recognized by their students. for having a profound effect on them. And I did a bunch of other things too, but I have nothing prepared, so I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Castro.
Yeah, Mr. Frank, as you know, I guess we don't get paid very much in the work we do, but some of the things that we do, they're just something that's invaluable. That the events that we attended, that I have attended, certainly I consider it a big perk in what we're doing. I attended the kickball event. It was awesome. The excellent awards, again, is something that is very rewarding, at least for me. The New Mexico State Board Education Conference, there was also something to behold. The City Council and Las Cruces Public School joint meeting, again, was very enlightening, and I think we're helping to move the ball forward together. The Mayfield Award Ceremony, again, is very rewarding. I can't say enough about the feeling we get and the joy I get in participating. I attended the Cinco de Mayo celebration that done at the superintendent's office, and the Teacher Impact Awards. Again, these are all the things that make my job worthwhile. Thank you very much.
Senora.
President Frank, it seems the conversation lately has been all about safety. I attended the safety task force here in the boardroom, and I met several law enforcement officials from NMSU City and County. The district is on good terms with those that protect us. I attended the first of a series of 3 conversations on safety at Lynn Middle School, and I was asked many questions by parents as to where we were on safety, bullying, and suicide prevention. I am proud of what the district is doing to address all 3 issues, which are uppermost on our students' minds, as well as their parents. We were present for the Teacher Recognition Awards, and I'd like to thank Coach Lopez for coming up with this very touching ceremony that showed love and respect for their teachers. I also attended the College of Education dinner, bringing the district and NMSU together to improve training of our teachers, the needs of their students, and identifying who can help further professional development for staff. There are many opportunities to continue to work together with the great professionals at NMSU. Plus, they always have so many ideas. I enjoy that. The board met with the city councilors in a joint meeting on safety, and we moved forward with a plan to improve safety in our buildings. And we listened to an angry group of our constituents on the Second Amendment. We did listen, and I hope they felt heard. Thank you to the bilingual departments for the lovely Cinco de Mayo celebration and the beautiful dancers from East Picacho Elementary. It was a lovely event, and we had invited the 5th grades to come and dance for us tonight. Ms. Dahlman and I, as she said, we visited the 2 community schools in El Paso, and I just want to report that we were steps away from the border, and there was no danger, all was calm and wonderful at the border. I just want that to get back to administration. Many congratulations go out to all the NMSU and DACC graduates and our dual credit students who received their certificates, AAs or ASs, and congratulations to them. I did attend the Las Cruces High School Senior Awards, and it was very nice in the new auxiliary gym. It was a lovely space. Congratulations to the awardees. Also, since I attended it seemed like most of the sessions for the new chancellor search, I want to congratulate Dr. Flotos and Dr. Arvizu as president and chancellor of NMSU. We wish them great success. To Dr. Earl Neeson, I wish him a speedy recovery. He broke his hip about a week ago. And to the family, students, and colleagues of Bert Thayes, I send my deepest condolences. I worked with her at Tombos, so I remember her well. Finally, to our graduates and their families, we send you off with love and best wishes for your future. we look forward to those graduations. And Mr. Jaramillo, I'm going to offer to go to the Arrowhead Awards tomorrow night at 6:30. You don't have to go. I'm making it up to you, okay?
No.
Yes.
I actually, I don't think I will be able to go because I have my
I will
own
be there.
thing, so, okay,
Okay.
thank you.
That's it. Thank you.
Okay. Well, at this time, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second?
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, we are
Second.
Thank you.
now adjourned.
What happens if we don't get a second on that? We just stay here?